Chapter 2279. The people from the four palaces came out of the space tunnel. When they saw Qi Yan and the others, they attacked without saying a word. There was Black Tortoise's barrier here. Those people attacked the barrier. With hundreds of experts attacking together, the barrier became shaky. Damn it, how can you break your great-grandfather's barrier? Black Tortoise's eyes turned red when he saw the people from the four palaces. He did not forget how they were defeated by the four beasts. Sima Yue used to create a protective circle for when this time she did not do anything and went to fight with Wu Lingyu and the others. Bai Xiaofei was not familiar with them, but he knew about the grudge between the four beasts and the four beasts. If it was not because he was worried, he and Black Tortoise would have gone to take revenge on the people from the four palaces. Therefore, when they saw the people from the four palaces, they also flew out to join the battle. When Xi's strength was not weak, but it was not enough in front of the people from the four palaces. Therefore, Xi and the elders could not go out and could only watch from the barrier. She knew Sima Yue and the others' strength, so she was not worried about them. Her attention was all on Bai Xiaofei. Bai Xiaofei's strength was not as good as Sima Yue and the others, but he and Black Tortoise cooperated very well. He didn't know what he had experienced, but his attacks were filled with a biting chill. However, he had never experienced such a strong battle before. The people from the four palaces were much stronger than the people from Cangming continent. After a long time, it was a little difficult for him to deal with them. The people from the four palaces seemed to have realized that he was a breakthrough point. More people rushed to him. When she was anxious, seeing that he was surrounded by people, she finally could not help it. She ignored the elders and took out her weapon and flew over. The two elders had no choice but to come out with her. Bai Xiaofei already felt a chill behind him. However, he did not have extra energy to deal with it. He could only take the sword. Clang, the sound of spirit weapons colliding came from behind. He looked sideways and saw her in white. He pushed back the people in front and shouted at her, "Why did you run out? I can't just stand by and watch you get hurt. Wherever you are, I will be there," when she said as she pushed him to the side and faced the person who was attacking her. Bai Xiaofei was angry, but now was not the time to scold her. However, the tacit understanding between the two of them was still there. With Wen Shi joining them, he was indeed a little more relaxed. However, this was unable to stop the waves of attacks from the four palaces. "Be careful." Bai Xiaofei heard a cry and felt a soft body hugging him, followed by the sound of a sharp weapon piercing into his body. "Miss." The two elders rushed over when they saw that Wen Shi was injured. Sima Yue heard the commotion and felt that it was about time. With a wave of her hand, a few hundred ancient war souls appeared and shifted all the pressure away. Wen Shi's body fell. Bai Xiaofei turned around and hugged her. When he saw the long sword on her back, his eyes turned red and the veins on his forehead popped out. He kept calling her name as if she would disappear in the next second. She, don't worry, I'll take you to heal now." He carried Wen Shi through the Black Tortoise's barrier and came to a small wooden house. He placed Wen Shi on the bed in the house. Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu followed him and watched him feed her pills helplessly. Don't sleep, open your eyes and look at me." Bai Xiaofei patted her face gently. "Brother Xiaofei, I really didn't say that I wanted to kill you. It's all Master's fault, Master's fault." When she spoke, the blood in her chest surged up. I know. Even if everyone stood against me, you wouldn't." Bai Xiaofei grabbed her hand that was about to touch him. "Brother Xiaofei, if time could turn back, I would definitely leave with you. Unfortunately, she can't follow you in the future." "No? You just said that wherever I am, you will be there. How can you abandon me?" In the next life, I will definitely follow you and never leave you." "I don't want the next life. I want this life. You know, I didn't leave because of you. If it wasn't because I was worried about you, we would have left long ago. Why wait until now? I've waited for you for so long, you can't leave me at this time. Hearing your words, I'm satisfied. You can't sleep. You can't abandon me. You can't." Sima Yue saw that the two of them were almost done talking and then said, "If you continue to block her, you will really lose her." Bai Xiaofei stood up and said, "Do you have a way to save her?" "I do now, but if you dawdle for a while, there won't be any left." Sima Yue said. "Then come quickly, please save her." Bai Xiaofei stood to the side and looked at her earnestly. Sima Yue walked over and took out 2 pills to feed her. Then she flipped her over and used a pair of scissors to remove her clothes. She took out a few silver needles and inserted a few needles around the wound. When the bleeding stopped, she cleaned the wound and took out some medicine to sprinkle on the wound. Then she used gauze to bandage the wound. "It's done." Sima Yue stood up and said, "Help her clean the blood stains on her body later." "That's it?" Bai Xiaofei saw that she didn't do much. "That's it? It's just some external injuries. The effect of the pill is enough," Sima Yue said. Bai Xiaofei wanted to say that the sword had hurt her internal organs, but seeing Sima Yue's determined look, he was afraid that she would get angry and not treat when she. Sima Yue saw that he was nervous and didn't dare to offend her. It was a far cry from the cold and arrogant look he had when they first met. It seemed that when she's appearance really scared him. "Don't worry, I'm the one who saved her life. Since I saved her back then, I won't let her die now," she comforted him. "She met with danger before?" "Yes, when we first came to this mainland she was being chased by a group of men. That she self-destructed. I stopped her from self-destructing halfway." Sima Yue said, "If she wasn't lucky enough to meet us she would probably have stayed in the West. She just recovered not long ago and I saved her again. She's really pitiful." Bai Xiaofei didn't hear the rest of her words. His mind was only filled with when she's self-destructing look. When he thought about how he almost couldn't see her again, he blamed himself. In the face of life and death, he suddenly felt that all his perseverance wasn't important anymore. Nothing was more important than her. Sima Yue saw that she had fanned the flames and turned to leave. The moment she went out, she was stopped by Black Tortoise. Chapter 2280. Black Tortoise pulled her to the side, where Qi Yan and the rest were standing. "Yue, is she all right?" Black Tortoise asked with concern. "Don't worry, she really only suffered some superficial injuries," Sima Yue assured. "It just looks dangerous but it's nothing serious." "That's good." Black Tortoise was relieved. "You don't know, my contractor's temper isn't very good. He suffered a lot when he was young, and because my abilities were damaged I couldn't help him much. Cici, that girl, could be said to be the only light in his life. Even after so many misunderstandings, that kid's heart had never changed. If something really happened to Cici, this guy wouldn't be able to take it. You're the one who found it troublesome, but you still say that Bai Xiaofei refused to leave." Fuxi reprimanded it. There are two reasons." Black Tortoise knocked on the turtle shell on its back, ignoring Fuxi, and continued to pull Sima Yue. "Did you arrange today's matter?" "Why do you say so?" Sima Yue smiled. She didn't deny it. "It's very obvious. Since you have so many ancient war souls, why didn't you take them out earlier? They came out the moment Cici was injured. That means you were paying attention to that place. Am I right?" "How would I know that the people from the four palaces would come at this time?" Sima Yue leaned in front of Black Tortoise, whispering, "But you guessed it right. How is it, isn't this a good idea?" "It's indeed not bad." Black Tortoise patted Sima Yue's shoulder approvingly. "I was still worried about how to resolve the misunderstanding between them. I didn't expect you to solve it so quickly. Although the medicine was a little too strong, the effect was immediate. Not bad, not bad. So, when she's injuries are healed, we'll leave this place. If you have anything to do, hurry up and do it." "There's nothing much, but have you confirmed the location of the White Tiger?" Black Tortoise asked. Sima Yue looked at Fuxi. Previously, he did not mention the location of the White Tiger. He only said that the White Tiger had not returned. Fuxi shook his head. Master's divination only mentioned the location of the Black Tortoise. "As for the White Tiger, we still need to use your tortoise shell." "I already said that it's not a tortoise shell. Azure Dragon, do you want to fight?" Black Tortoise waved his hand at Fuxi and threatened. "Can you beat me?" Fuxi rolled her eyes at him. "Let's get down to business first." Once Crimson Flame spoke, Fuxi and Black Tortoise both quieted down. Fuxi glanced at the Black Tortoise. The Black Tortoise reluctantly reached its hand into the turtle shell on its back. After rummaging around, it finally pulled out a small turtle shell. Fuxi took out other divination tools, squatted on the ground, and began to calculate. Sima Yue did not understand what they were doing, so she went to Wu Lingyu's side and waited for the results with him. Fuxi calculated again and again on the ground. He calculated again and again until Black Tortoise ran out of patience. "My shell is very accurate. Is it because you're not strong enough?" Black Tortoise shouted. Fuxi sat on the ground. The divination just now had consumed a lot of his energy. Sima Yue saw him like this and asked, "Little Shi, you didn't calculate it?" "I've calculated it, but the result." Fuxi sighed heavily. "How can it be? Did something happen to the White Tiger?" "The White Tiger has not contracted with its master yet." Fuxi threw out a bombshell. "I calculated that the White Tiger's situation should be fine, but it has not been contracted, so it can't return." "Can't it not be contracted?" Sima Yue asked curiously. You don't have a master, right? I died that year and my power and inheritance were sealed in the Dragon God's order. So my current body is both a master and the Azure Dragon. Fuxi explained. But the White Tiger is the same as Crimson Flame and the others. It needs a master to balance it before it can return. In other words, the White Tiger has not met its master yet. So what we have to do is to find its master? Sima Yue understood. You should have calculated who its master is and where he is, right? We can go find him directly and let him contract with the White Tiger. Isn't that good? In theory that's the case. But in reality it's not that simple. What? Because its master is still a child. Fuxi closed his eyes and said helplessly, we have to find that child now and let him cultivate. When he has the ability he can then contract with the White Tiger. Then we have to wait for a few hundred years? Not necessarily, Fuxi said. The divination said that the White Tiger's master is a person who is going through a tribulation. There might be other possibilities. Yue, I still need you to do this. Me? Sima Yue blinked. What do you need me to do? According to the divination, you have a master and disciple relationship with him. Fuxi said. You need to find him, accept him as your disciple and guide his cultivation. And tell him how to contract with the White Tiger. Black Tortoise continued. Fuxi shook his head and said, I can't tell him about the White Tiger. The White Tiger's location is unknown. Only its master can find it. Outsiders can't interfere. So I'll have to rely on Yue for this. Sima Yue's mouth twitched. Why do I have a bad feeling about this? Since everything else had been decided, they could only wait for when she to recover. When Sima Yue and the rest were almost done with their discussion and returned to the wooden house, when she had already woken up. Seeing Sima Yue enter, Bai Xiaofei who was sitting beside the bed stood up and bowed to her. Thank you Yue for saving she twice. Bai Xiaofei, when she and I are considered friends. It's my duty to save her. I saved her life. Who are you to thank me? I've decided to marry she. I'm thanking you as her fiancé. Bai Xiaofei said solemnly. In that case, the misunderstanding has been resolved and the former enmity has been buried? Sima Yue looked at when she shyly buried her head in her arms. This is a good thing. What's there to be shy about? But, just like what I told you before, Bai Xiaofei is destined to be with us in the future. Have you thought about it? Do you want to go with him? If I was a little hesitant before, after this incident, I already know what I want. Wherever Brother Xiaofei goes, I'll go. Even if there's endless danger in the future, I won't regret it. When she raised her head and said firmly, Not bad. Then lie down obediently and let me change the medicine for you. The sooner you recover, the sooner you can be together. She said it innocently, but it made when she blush. She lay on the bed and didn't dare to look at her. Chapter 2281. With Sima Yue's pills, when she's body recovered very quickly. After her body recovered, the two elders returned to the clan. When she and Bai Xiaofei leaving Tsangming continent was not a small matter. They had to go back and report to the clan. They did not have to worry about their safety on the way back. It was dangerous in the past because Black Tortoise controlled this place and did not allow outsiders to enter. Now that they had an agreement with Bai Xiaofei, this danger naturally did not exist. Black Tortoise found a sea beast for them and let Hai Xing bring them out. Then, without waiting for the one clan to reply, they held a simple wedding for her and Bai Xiaofei. When the one clan came, they had already passed the bridal chamber. When she tied her hair up and looked completely different. When the one clan head and madam saw her like this, they were furious. They pulled her and Bai Xiaofei into the small wooden house and talked for a long time. When they came out, their faces were still ugly, but they did not ask when she to go back with them. When she and Bai Xiaofei sent the one clan off and walked back hand in hand, Black Tortoise leaned on Fuxi and could not help but cry. How many years has it been? I finally saw him smile again. All these years, I was almost frozen into an ice cube by him. You're stupid. Fuxi pushed him away and patted the place he leaned on in disdain. Since the matter is almost settled, let's prepare to find White Tiger. Jiyan said. When he mentioned White Tiger, he could not help but frown. He did not know how long it would take to find White Tiger, nor did he know what would happen. Even Black Tortoise's shell could not calculate White Tiger's whereabouts. It was most likely covered by the heavens. This way, the people from the four palaces would not be able to find it and would not be able to chase after it. Similarly, they would not be able to find it. They could only find it by looking for its contractor. It's time to go find it. But before we leave, We have to do something to distract the attention of the four palaces. Fuxi said. The people from the four palaces had been chasing after them. They had to make some preparations so that the people from the four palaces would not follow them to find White Tiger's whereabouts. A few days later, the group of people left the small island. A few days later, the four palaces arrived at the small island. One of the black-clothed men circled the small wooden house twice and began to calculate their location. After a few calculations, he vomited blood and fell to the ground. How is it? The leader walked over and asked. My lord, I can't deduce anything. They tried to cover it up, and the results of their calculations were different every time. It was impossible to know which one was correct. It's even possible that these are all wrong. Dio Swansea clutched his chest in pain. Can't you think of a way? The leader grabbed Divinator's collar and shouted. That Divinator had already suffered a backlash. Now that he was yelled at, his eyes rolled back and he fainted. After searching for a while, the people from the four palaces had no choice but to retreat. Without a specific target, the four palaces could only send more people to the few continents mentioned by the diviner. At the same time, they also increased their manpower in the other continents. This lessened the pressure on the Fallen Cliff Palace and the others on the Divine Dominion continent. Black Tortoise, Vermilion Bird, and Azure Dragon had already met up. The current situation was very grim. The most important thing now was to quickly find White Tiger and Vermilion Bird. They must not let the four divine beasts meet up. As for the Fallen Cliff Palace and the others, it would not be too late to deal with them after the four divine beasts were eliminated. At this time, Sima Yue and the others had already arrived at the Wanyan continent where White Tiger was located. That day, Junbai's divination showed that White Tiger was on this continent. Other than that, there were no other clues. Fuxi used Black Tortoise's shell to calculate more accurately, but it was only a rough area. What Sima Yue had to do was to find that person in such a large area, accept him as a disciple and teach him cultivation. Not only that, she could not tell him about White Tiger. He could only search for it himself. Who knew how long it would take for him to find White Tiger? Just thinking about it made her feel like collapsing. No, it was a heavy responsibility. Yu, go inside and look for it. Fuxi took her to the outside of a school. You want me to be a teacher? Sima Yu's mouth twitched. Did he make a mistake? Since we are fated to be teacher and disciple, we naturally have to lean towards this direction. Don't those who don't know how to cultivate all come here to learn? Fuxi explained. There were fewer sects in the Wanyan continent, but there were many academies. If one wanted to find someone who did not know how to cultivate, this kind of place was better. I just used Black Tortoise's shell to divine. That person will meet you in the academy. So, you have to work hard. We will buy a courtyard nearby. You can come and find us when you are free. Fuxi patted her shoulder and comforted her. Sima Yue looked at Wu Lingyu. Wu Lingyu shrugged and said, I believe Yue will be a good teacher. Sima Yue, she pouted. She was not very happy. If it wasn't for the grim situation, she would have thought that they were playing a trick on her. She closed her eyes and sensed the situation in the academy. Then she turned around to look at everyone and said, You guys just wait for my news. After saying this, she walked towards the academy's gate. However, she was blocked by the guards at the gate. You are not a student of the academy. You cannot enter, the guard said. I'm not a student, but I will soon become a teacher here. Sima Yue calmly said. What? The two guards looked at each other. When did the academy have such a teacher? But when they looked over again, they found that there was no one in front of them. The scene just now was like an illusion. Sima Yue walked in the academy. Looking at the students coming and going, she guessed which one was the person she was looking for. Her appearance attracted a lot of attention, especially the males. She was good-looking to begin with, and with her natural temperament, she unconsciously attracted the attention of others. Some students were more daring and directly went up to her and said, This student, I have never seen you before. Which year and which class are you from? Sima Yue blinked and said, I am not a student of the academy yet. But can you tell me how to get to the principal's office? You want to find the principal? I can bring you there. Thank you. Sima Yue smiled at him. The male student felt that he was floating. The other students were secretly hating. Why didn't they have the courage to go up and talk to her just now? He brought Sima Yue to the principal's office. While chatting on the way, Sima Yue found out that they would be recruiting new students in a few days. She thought that after meeting the principal, she would ask to be the new student's teacher. Since she said that she would bring that person into the academy, then he must have not started cultivating. A new student would fit the criteria. Chapter 2282. Sima Yue followed the student to the dean's office. Someone was talking inside, so they waited outside. Oh yes, I haven't asked you. Why are you looking for the dean? I'm here to apply for the position of a teacher. Sima Yue said, the next time you see me, I might be a teacher. The student widened his eyes in shock. This was the first time he had seen such a situation. He wanted to ask her why she only came at this time, but Sima Yue did not intend to explain. Thank you for bringing me here. I'm going in now. The student wanted to say that there was someone else in the office, but the door suddenly opened. A teacher walked out. Miss, the dean invites you in. Sima Yue entered the office. There were 3 or 4 teachers sitting inside. When they saw her enter, they all looked at her. Miss, what brings you to the academy? An old man sitting behind the desk looked at her kindly. Sima Yue thought of the dean of Dongqin Academy. He was dressed in white just like her. His hair and beard were all white, and he had a celestial aura. She bowed to the dean and said, I'm here to apply for the position of a new teacher. Do you still need teachers here? You. Miss, how old are you? The dean did not say anything, but a round-faced man sitting beside him asked first. I'm more than 200 years old. Sima Yue said honestly. More than 200 years old and you want to be a teacher? We have a lot of students who are 400 or 500 years old who have not graduated. Since I said that I can be a teacher, I naturally have the ability. Sima Yue said confidently. Then show us your ability now. If you are qualified to be a teacher, we will hire you as a teacher. You are just toying with us. Not only will you not be a teacher, we will also hold you responsible for trespassing. The dean said. All right. What do you want to test me on? Give me a question. You don't want to ask us what we want to test you on. You can choose. How arrogant. It's good for young people to be confident. If you go overboard, you will be conceited. The round-faced teacher said. Only people with power can have such an aura. Sima Yue said. Can you refine 8th grade pills? The round-faced teacher asked. Sima Yue did not waste any more time. She took out her pill furnace and herbs and started to refine the pills in front of them. The round-faced teacher was an alchemist. He could tell that Sima Yue was an alchemist from the way she was refining the herbs. However, he was still shocked when he saw that Sima Yue had used less than half the time to concoct a grade 8 pill. A 200 years old 8th grade alchemist? No wonder she had such confidence. Do you know how to set up arrays? Another teacher asked her. Sima Yue smiled at him and slowly disappeared under their gazes. Then she slowly reappeared under their shocked gazes. This move made everyone unable to remain calm. They had clearly seen her disappear, but they hadn't felt the slightest fluctuation. If they hadn't been watching her, they wouldn't have noticed that she had just disappeared from the room and reappeared. Do you still want to take the other tests? Sima Yue asked. What else do you know? I know how to refine weapons, tame beasts, search for spiritual energy, medicine and poison. Sima Yue replied. If they hadn't seen her display her skills, they would have believed that she only knew how to refine them. Since she could ask them to set any questions, it meant that she was confident in the other tests as well. Pardon me for asking, but how high is your cultivation level now? Sima Yue casually set up a barrier and released a portion of her spiritual energy. Although it was only a portion, it was enough to shock everyone. Furthermore, they could tell that she had not fully revealed her abilities. It should be said that she had already reached a level that they had never reached before. Principal, may I know if I have been hired? She looked at the principal and asked. I have another question. The principal did not seem excited when he saw a genius. Why did you come here to be a teacher? The moment he asked, the other teachers quietened down. This was a very important question. They couldn't just let anyone come here to be a teacher. I am looking for someone. My friend divined that he and I have a master-disciple relationship in this academy. Sima Yue said, so you don't have to worry that I have any bad intentions. Then what kind of teacher do you want to be? This meant that he had been hired. Let's just cultivate. Sima Yue recalled that Fushi had said that she would guide that person into the academy, so it would be best if he had a cultivation level. That wasn't right. Those who could enter the academy should already have a certain foundation in cultivation, so how could she guide him into the academy? Cough cough, that I think I should go and teach alchemy. She smiled and looked at the principal. Is that all right? Yes. The principal did not have any requests for another teacher. He could already tell that she was a strong person who would not stay in the academy for long. She would leave once she was done with her matters, so it didn't matter what teacher she became. He pointed at the round-faced teacher and said, This is the director of the alchemy faculty, Dongli. He will arrange everything for you. Director Dongli, I will have to trouble you. Sima Yue bowed to Dongli. Since you have been assigned to me, then you should come with me to familiarize yourself with the environment. When the new students arrive in a few days, you can take them to class. Dongli brought her away. Sima Yue obediently followed him and left. Principal, why did you agree to her? Someone asked. It was too dangerous to let someone of unknown origin stay in the academy. Do you think that if you don't agree, she will leave the academy? If she wants to stay here, do any of you have the ability to stop her? The principal glanced at the person who spoke. We have to be on guard at all times, so why not agree and let her come here openly? Alright, if there's nothing else, you can leave. Dong Li brought her around the alchemy faculty, then brought her to an empty courtyard. This courtyard is near the back of the mountain, it's a little far from the teaching area, and it's a little small. Just make do with it. When we have a bigger courtyard, I will change it for you. Dong Li said. Sima Yue sized up the courtyard. It was not big for a teacher, but she did not have any requirements. She could live in it no matter how big or small it was. No need, I'll take this. It's better to be further away from the teaching area, it's quieter. She felt that the environment was just right. It was not easy to find such a quiet place in the noisy academy. That's good, you can tell me if you have any requests. Dong Li took out a stack of papers and said, This is our academy's introduction and rules, you can take a look at it when you have the time. You can't let new students come in. As a teacher, you are also blind, right? Sima Yue took it and sent Dong Li away, then cleaned up the room and began her teaching career here. Chapter 2283. Sima Yue had never thought that she would become a teacher one day. When she accepted Mu Si as her disciple, it was mostly due to external factors. If Mu Si's adoptive father didn't die because of Sima Lu Xian, if he didn't follow her out of Ghost City, she might not have accepted him as her disciple. Now that she thought about how she was going to have a large group of students, she felt a little strange. When she thought about the White Tiger contract that she had no clue about, her strange feeling turned into helplessness. In the past few days, she had read through the school's introduction and rules and had a rough understanding of it. Qingfeng Academy was considered a clear stream in the school. The other academies were entangled with various powers and their students had become the reserve army of those powers. Only Qingfeng Academy abided by the school rules and was unwilling to rely on those powers. If it was just an ordinary academy, it would be fine, but it was better than the other academies in all aspects. Sima Yue could imagine that Qingfeng Academy would be seen as a thorn in the side sooner or later. For example, those powers that it had rejected, like the other academies. After familiarizing herself with the situation in the academy, it was finally time for the new students' selection. She had nothing to do, and when she wandered around the academy, she consciously turned to the place where the new students were selected. The teachers in the academy all knew that there was a new alchemy teacher in the academy. They all knew that she was mysterious and strong, she was very young and also very beautiful. So the teacher in charge of the assessment recognized her when he saw her and even greeted her, asking if she had anything to do. I'm just looking around, you guys continue. Sima Yue said as she went to sit at the side and quietly watched the teacher organize the assessment for those who wanted to enter the academy. She looked at those young faces and thought of the first time she saw Ouyang Fei and Bei Gong Tang. At that time the two of them also stood in the queue like this. It was only when they tested that they had multiple spiritual powers that everyone's attention fell on them. The incident at that time was still vivid in her mind as if it was yesterday. At this time, a few beast carriages ran over from the back and didn't stop in front of the queue. When the people in the queue saw the beast carriages rushing over, they dispersed. The beast carriages stopped in front of the glazed ball. Those young people were furious at first, but when they saw the symbol on the carriage clearly, they could only suppress their anger in their hearts, not daring to say anything. The teacher in charge of the assessment had a bad expression. When he saw the people coming down from the beast carriages, he didn't have a good expression. Seventh young master, if you are here to participate in the academy's assessment, please line up at the back, the teacher said. The one who came down from the beast carriage was a teenager. He raised his chin, looked at the teacher arrogantly and said, What did you say? It's your honor that this young master came here to learn. It's fine if you don't invite me over with a palanquin, but you actually want this young master to line up? According to the academy's rules, everyone who comes later has to line up. Seventh young master, please. The Clearwind Academy's rules are really strict. Since this prince is here, do I have to line up as well? A young man of about the same age got out of the beast carriage behind them and stared at the teacher with malicious eyes. There was a smile on his face, but it sent chills down everyone's spine. This person was definitely not someone to be trifled with. However, Sima Yue did not care about such a character at all. Her attention was focused on the few guards standing beside the carriage. Have you ever seen a monarch-level expert as an ordinary guard? Even the coachman was one. These people must have come with ill intentions. Fourth Prince, why have you come to a small academy like ours? The teacher in charge of the assessment spoke in a more respectful manner, but there was still no smile on his face. This prince is naturally here to participate in the selection of new students. The fourth prince walked to the side of the seventh young master and said, "Do you think this prince needs to line up as well?" Sima Yue looked at the teacher in charge of the assessment, thinking that they should give the imperial family some face. She did not expect that the teacher in charge of the assessment would nod his head and say seriously, "That's right. Fourth prince and seventh young master, please line up at the back." Sima Yue raised an eyebrow. The teacher in charge of the assessment should have been able to see the strength of the guards and rejected them so bluntly. Could it be that the teachers in the academy were all so unyielding? Or could it be that the relationship between the two parties was so bad that there was no need to give the other party any face? She propped up her chin with her left hand and tapped lightly on the table with her right, not saying a word as she continued to watch. The fourth prince's face fell and he stared coldly at the teacher in charge of the assessment. "Say that again? Fourth prince, since you intend to enter our academy to study, then you should be familiar with the rules of our academy. So please line up at the back," the teacher in charge of the assessment said. "Impudent." The guard beside the fourth prince shouted, and without any explanation, he struck his palm towards the teacher in charge of the assessment. The teacher in charge of the assessment did not expect them to attack so suddenly and was unable to react in time. He was sent flying and fell to the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. "You're just a teacher in the academy, how dare you disregard the fourth prince and the imperial family? Today we'll teach you how to conduct yourself on behalf of the academy." The seventh young master said, "All of you, go and tell him what the way of a ruler is." As soon as he finished speaking, the person who had attacked just now began to condense his spiritual energy. Sima Yue's eyes darkened. That person's actions were obviously trying to kill the teacher in charge of the assessment. The teacher in charge of the assessment also realized that he had been imprisoned by an unknown force and could not move at all. Not only him, but even the teacher who was assisting the assessment was also imprisoned. He could only watch as the spiritual energy attacked the teacher in charge of the assessment. All the students present were shocked. They did not expect the selection to suddenly turn out like this. Everyone thought that the teacher in charge of the assessment would definitely die. Unexpectedly, after the spiritual energy dissipated, he was still in the same state as before. Everyone was shocked, and the fourth prince and his guards were even more shocked. Today's incident was planned by them, and they knew that they had secretly sent experts. What they wanted to do was to provoke a conflict with the academy. They did not expect that the teacher in charge of the assessment would be saved by someone under such circumstances. Furthermore, they did not even feel that someone had made a move. How could they not be worried? They thought that the dean had made a move, but the dean did not appear at all. At this moment they were being surrounded by people and could not get away. Could it be that there were other experts in the academy? The fourth prince gave the guard a look and the guard attacked again. This time his strength was even stronger than before. Just as he was about to touch the teacher in charge of the assessment, a light breeze blew past and the spiritual energy dissipated just like that. Only then did everyone turn their attention to the girl in white sitting behind the table. She looked quite young. Was it really her? Chapter 2284. Who are you? How dare you obstruct us from enforcing the law? The guard shouted. Enforcing the law? Sima Yue lowered her left hand and looked at the fourth prince. Weren't you guys teaching this teacher a lesson on behalf of the academy? Why are you enforcing the law now? I wonder which law you guys are upholding? Who are you? The fourth prince looked at Sima Yue with vigilance. She was sitting there just now, but they didn't notice her. She was actually able to suppress her presence to such an extent, it seemed like she wasn't someone to be trifled with. But when did the Clear Wind Academy have such a person? Would this person become a variable in their plan to reclaim the Clear Wind Academy? I am a teacher who just arrived at the academy. Sima Yue replied. You guys killed a teacher at the academy's entrance, don't you think that you guys are going overboard? Impudent. The fourth prince is teaching a lesson to someone who doesn't understand his honor, and you actually stepped in to protect him. I think you guys are in cahoots with him, You guys don't even put the fourth prince and the imperial family in your eyes. The seventh young master shouted. Hearing those people's words, Sima Yue laughed out loud. Her contemptuous gaze seemed to have seen through everything, making the fourth prince and the others very unhappy. What are you laughing at? Do you know what crime it is to mock the imperial family? The seventh young master asked. I don't know what crime it is, but I know that no matter what we say or do today, you guys will pin this crime on us. Sima Yue said, you guys have 18 monarch-level experts as your guards, and 3 paragon-level experts secretly holding the fort. Don't tell me that every prince has the same guards as the fourth prince when he goes out. I think that even the emperor doesn't have so many experts protecting him when he goes out, right? Alright, seventh young master, the guards beside you are also such experts. Are you a prince as well? What nonsense are you talking about? The seventh young master shouted, and the other guard beside him immediately attacked Sima Yue. The two of them weren't far apart, and the spiritual energy almost reached her in the next second. However, she just disappeared from where she was standing. Where is she? The students exclaimed when they saw that Sima Yue had disappeared. The fourth prince and the others, as well as the teachers of the sect, were extremely surprised. Sima Yue had disappeared without a trace. Furthermore, there wasn't a single trace or movement. They had no idea where she had gone. A blood-curdling scream was heard as a figure fell from the sky and landed outside the academy's gate. Following that, 2 other people also landed from different directions. When the fourth prince saw those 3 people, his face instantly turned ashen. Without waiting for him to react, Sima Yue's sleeves fluttered as she descended from the sky. She's like a fairy descending to the mortal world. Someone exclaimed. Sima Yue landed in front of the examiner, looked at the fourth prince and said, Fourth prince, are you going to line up or go back? She didn't say who the 3 people on the ground were, but the fourth prince knew. In such a short period of time, Sima Yue had found 3 monarch-level experts. If he was smart, he would know what to choose. Their plan had been exposed and the other party was terrifyingly strong. With such people around, it would be impossible for them to succeed today. If this woman attacked him, no one would be able to stop him even if he died. I've never lined up in my entire life. Let's go back. The fourth prince flung his sleeves, turned around and boarded the beast carriage and left with his people. They didn't have the arrogance they had when they arrived and left rather pathetically. After they left, Sima Yue turned to look at the examiner and asked, Are you all right? The examiner had already stood up and bowed to Sima Yue. Thank you, Teacher Yue, for saving my life. These kids couldn't tell, but he knew. Just now, Sima Yue had used the space seal to seal the space around him, saving his life. You're welcome. Since we're colleagues, it's only right for me to lend a hand. Sima Yue smiled. Teacher Qin, we've completely offended the fourth prince's faction today. Another teacher said worriedly. Sima Yue had directly chased the fourth prince away, which meant that the academy had completely fallen out with the other party. No matter if Teacher Yue helped us or not, we'll definitely fall out with them today. Teacher Qin said, Look at the people he brought. No matter what we do today, they'll still take action. If we dare to attack the fourth prince, those people will use this as an excuse to attack the academy. The reason why they chose to do it today was because they thought that if they could affect the new students during the battle, the families behind them might also find trouble with us. When that time comes, we'll be surrounded by enemies. I know, Sai, there's nothing to worry about. There'll be a way to solve this. Organize them to continue with the new students' selection. Teacher Yue and I will go and talk to the dean about this. After Teacher Chen finished speaking, he handed over the new students' selection to the other teachers and left with Sima Yue. After they left, the little fellows who were queuing up were all excited. Just now, Sima Yue was too handsome. That celestial aura around her made people's hearts beat faster. That action of hers made people worship her. Everyone's hearts were about to fly to her. Teacher, is that teacher from the academy? Does he know how to teach the new students? Someone shouted. That's a teacher from the alchemy faculty. He said that he's here to teach the new students. All of you line up properly. If you want to learn alchemy, you'll need to be able to cultivate and have the talent to become an alchemist. Alright, stand properly. Come, the first one. Sima Yue and Teacher Chen entered the academy and hurriedly walked towards the dean's office. When they arrived, they found out that the building where the dean and the others were working was covered by a barrier. When they arrived, the barrier had just been lifted. Seeing that Teacher Chen was injured, the dean and the others were extremely shocked. After asking, they found out what happened at the entrance of the academy. I was wondering why those old fellows would come and find us at this time. They even used the excuse that the conversation was confidential to isolate us from the outside world. So this was their plan. Dong Li said angrily. They delayed us here and let the fourth prince come out. By the time we left, both sides had already shed all pretense of cordiality. Luckily Yue helped us today. Thank you so much. The old dean said gratefully. I'm now a part of the academy. You don't have to be so polite. Sima Yue replied politely. She helped to protect the academy, not because she had deep feelings for the academy, but because she had not found the contractor of the White Tiger. If the academy was gone before she found him, how could she find that little fellow? Dean, it seems like they can't hold it in anymore. A vice dean sighed. If we continue like this, I'm afraid that it will be difficult for us to survive in the cracks. Sima Yue was secretly shocked. The academy's situation was already so serious. Chapter 2285. Dean, the fourth prince didn't succeed today. I wonder if they have any other plans? If they can't wait, we have to take action. The array master said. Yue, after what you did today, they won't do anything for now. The dean said, this will give us some time to prepare. That's right, we should do something. Dong Li agreed. Do you need me to do anything? Sima Yue asked. From what they said, they had planned something but they didn't put it into action. Since he had borrowed their territory, he should at least do something for them. You don't have to do anything. Your existence is the most beneficial thing for us. The dean said. With her around, those people wouldn't dare to touch the academy. It was a pity that she couldn't stay in the academy forever. Otherwise they wouldn't have to do anything. Even if she stood there, they wouldn't dare to provoke her. If that's the case, you guys can discuss. I'll go back first. Sima Yue nodded at them and left. Dean, why don't you let her join in? Someone asked. She said that she's looking for someone here. Once she finds him, she'll leave. This period of time can be long or short. If we rely on her too much, what will we do when she leaves? The dean said earnestly, we still have to rely on our own strength. Right now, the fight between the first prince and the fourth prince for the throne has reached a stage where it is in full swing, and those powers have already taken sides. But the first prince and the fourth prince aren't benevolent. No matter who takes the throne, the other side and those who are neutral will be eliminated. Dong Li said. So we can't let them take the throne. But the other princes are mediocre. They're weak and don't have any power behind them. It won't be easy for us to support one of them. Even if it's not easy, we have to do it. We can't wait for the first prince or the fourth prince to take the throne. The dean said, Dean He, how's the investigation going? During this period of time, I've investigated the second prince, the third prince and the fifth prince. The second prince secretly supports the first prince and has a vicious personality. The third prince doesn't rely on any side. He's weak and his cultivation talent is mediocre. As for the fifth prince, on the surface he seemed to have no interest in the throne, but in reality he was secretly accumulating his strength. Moreover, his benevolence and righteousness are just on the surface. Oh, President, these three princes? Sigh. Although they didn't want to stand on the side of the first prince and the fourth prince, the remaining three princes were too weak. They couldn't even choose a better one among the shorter ones. The old dean closed his eyes and thought for a while, then said, we have another candidate. Oh, sixth prince. Sixth prince? He has been guarding the imperial mausoleum all this time. He is really poor and has no power by his side. If we want to promote him to the throne, it will be more difficult than the other three princes. We need to protect ourselves now, but we can't forget our roots. The Breeze Academy supports a wise ruler. Since the other princes are unable to do so, we can only place our hopes on the sixth prince. What about the sixth prince? He's been in the imperial mausoleum for so many years, we don't know how he's doing now. I've seen him before. This child has a kind and benevolent heart, but he also has courage and a firm heart. If he hadn't been punished to the imperial mausoleum for those matters and had his resources cut off, I'm afraid that the power by his side would not lose to the first prince and the fourth prince. The old dean said. He came back once 2 years ago and entrusted the seventh prince to our care. He and the seventh prince are not blood brothers, but he was able to provide a safe environment for the seventh prince under these circumstances. It is indeed not bad. I'll go look for him personally in a while. Everything else will proceed as planned. The old dean said. Yes. Everyone stood up and replied. All right, you may all leave. Dong Li, you stay. The other teachers left and Dong Li returned to her seat. Is the seventh prince still unable to cultivate? The old dean asked. Yes, he's already 16 this year, but his temperament is like that of a 6 or 7-year-old. It's no different from when he first came to the academy. Dong Li replied, the other princes all started cultivating at the age of 8 or 9. I'm afraid the 7th prince. If he still couldn't cultivate at the age of 16, wouldn't he be a good for nothing? He likes you and only wants to be close to you. Then you have to put in more effort. If the 6th prince can ascend to the throne, the 7th prince's life won't be bad in the future. If not, we can just raise him alone. We can still afford to raise him. The old dean said. The 7th prince doesn't like me. He just likes the smell of the herbs. Dong Li felt a little helpless when she thought of the 7th prince. He clearly couldn't cultivate, but he was very interested in alchemy. Seeing his childish eyes, she didn't want to discourage him. After Sima Yue left the dean's office, she returned to her own courtyard. When she passed by Dong Li's courtyard, she saw a young man dressed in black leaning against the wall and looking inside. Although Dong Li had a cute round face, he wasn't usually cheerful. In contrast, he was quite strict with the students. The students were all afraid of him. Now, someone actually dared to climb his courtyard wall. It was a little strange. That person was leaning against the wall. He couldn't go up or down. He just hung in the air. However, he didn't care. He stretched his neck to look into the courtyard. No one knew what he was looking for. Suddenly, his hand didn't support the wall. His whole body fell forward and then fell back. He lost his balance and fell to the ground. Hiss. The young man climbed up from the ground and reached out to touch his buttocks. The way he grimaced made Sima Yue smile. Seeing that he still wanted to climb the wall, she said, "You're looking for Dong Li? He's not here now." The young man was shocked. He turned around with panic in his eyes, like a frightened deer. Sima Yue couldn't help but praise those clean eyes. "You, when did you get here?" The young man blinked his eyes, trying to make himself look less panicked. Sima Yue pointed at the wall and said with a smile, "I was already here when you were still there." "Then didn't you see everything?" The young man's face turned red. He looked left and right as if he had done something wrong. "Yes, I saw everything. Are you looking for Dong Li?" Sima Yue asked. "Yes, I'm looking for him. In the classroom he's not here. I came over to take a look." The young man stared at her. "Do you know where he is?" Sima Yue noticed that the way he spoke was a little special. Looking at his slow movements, she instantly understood that he was a child who hadn't developed mentally yet. She slowed down and said, "He's discussing something with the dean. Why are you looking for him?" Chapter 2286. The youth pursed his lips and hesitantly stared at her for a while. Then he turned around and ran away. Sima Yue watched him run away. She didn't stop him and left with a smile. How could there be such a child in the academy? He wasn't intelligent and didn't have any spiritual power, yet he ran around. Sima Yue suddenly stopped in her tracks. No spiritual power? No spiritual power? In the entire academy, even the new students had already started cultivating. This youth was probably the only one who didn't know how to cultivate. Wasn't that the person she was looking for? It couldn't be? Could it be that White Tiger's contractor was someone who wasn't intelligent? How was she going to teach someone like him how to cultivate? She turned around and looked in the direction the youth left. After hesitating for a while, she still left. She decided to go back and ask Dong Li about this youth's situation. She didn't see Dong Li or that youth for 2 or 3 days. She didn't have the chance to ask. After a few days, she went to class. This was the first time in her life that she went to class. Looking at the young faces below, she suddenly felt that she was old. She didn't know if Feng Zhixing had the same feeling when he saw her. When the students saw her, they were all extremely excited. Some of them saw what happened on the day of the new student selection. Some of them heard about it from others. No matter what they saw or heard, they were all extremely curious about her. Knowing that Sima Yue was teaching new students, the students from other grades were all extremely envious. Such a beautiful and fairy-like girl was their teacher. How fortunate. Hello everyone, I'm your alchemy teacher, Sima Yue. From today onwards, I'll be teaching you how to refine pills. Before class starts, let me understand your situation. How many of you know how to refine pills? Almost everyone raised their hands. And since they all knew how to refine pills, it would be much easier to teach them later on. Since you all know how to refine pills, I don't need to repeat the 3 steps of refining pills. Now, come out one by one and refine 2 medicinal ingredients. The alchemy teacher's classroom was not like a normal classroom. The tables and chairs were placed in a circle against the wall. There was a pill furnace in front of the classroom and the medicinal ingredients were placed in front of it. After she finished speaking, she went to the side and took out a chair to sit down. She watched the students refine the medicinal ingredients one by one. Each student refined 2 medicinal ingredients. It didn't matter if they succeeded or not or how pure they were. With more than 30 students, half a day passed. Some people were able to refine it with high purity, and some even failed twice. Those who succeeded were naturally happy, while those who failed were a little embarrassed. Sima Yue sat on the chair and looked around. Sima Yue didn't say much. She took out 2 portions of the same herbs and used the same method to refine them again. However, this time she made some changes. The purity of the refined essence increased by 3 levels and reached 80%. She placed the 2 portions of essence on the table and said, "Refining is the most basic part of refining pills. However, it is also the most important part. If you want to build a skyscraper, the more solid the foundation, the better. You may be better than others here, but there will always be someone better than you. If you have talent, you should focus on learning so that you don't disappoint the heavens." The few students who had been complacent just a moment ago all blushed in shame. "Teacher, can you use your own method to refine this herb?" A student asked. "Of course I can." She took out 2 more portions of herbs and used her own refining methods to refine them. She placed them on the table and left after announcing the end of class. In the classroom no one left. They looked at the essence that Sima Yue refined and were shocked. This purity is almost 100%. Teacher is right. We don't have anything to be proud of in heaven beyond heaven. We actually have such a good teacher. We must work harder in the future. Sima Yue didn't care about the students' reactions. She walked out of the classroom and looked at the other classroom. She saw the young man in black again. When the young man saw her, he was stunned for a moment before running away. Chapter 2287. When Sima Yue went to class in the afternoon, none of the students skipped class. They were all obediently waiting for her in the classroom. When they saw her enter, their gazes were even hotter than in the morning. Previously, they had only heard about what she did during the selection of new students. They only idolized her. After what happened in the morning, they had already prostrated themselves before her and idolized her to the core. Furthermore, after that, no one refuted what Sima Yue said. What made them the happiest was that Sima Yue's lectures were concise and comprehensive, lively and interesting. Her suggestions were also straight to the point. This made them enjoy such a boring class. During the time that Sima Yue taught them, everyone had improved greatly. After she finished explaining the theory, Sima Yue brought them to the alchemy classroom. She let them use their points to exchange for the same herbs and let them practice alchemy on their own. Sima Yue would patrol the classroom while they were practicing. She would guide them one by one and point out their shortcomings in practice. If someone failed, she would not blame them. Instead, she would encourage them to try again. If someone's furnace exploded, regardless of whether she was there or not, she would be able to set up a protective circle around the student. This would reduce the student's risk of getting injured. Thus, with her around, the students were able to relax and try many things that they did not dare to try before. This greatly broadened their path of alchemy. The other students also knew that her lectures were good and many of them came to listen in. Sima Yue did not object to it as long as it did not affect the other teachers' classes. On this day, she brought the students to the alchemy room to practice alchemy. Suddenly, she saw a figure appear by the window of the alchemy room. He was lying on the windowsill, quietly watching the students in the classroom practice alchemy. He was so focused on them that he did not even notice her walking beside him. "You like alchemy?" she asked. The young man was shocked and wanted to run away. However, Sima Yue grabbed his arm. "Don't you want to watch them practice alchemy?" she asked. "I can bring you to the classroom." The young man turned around and stared at her. Indeed, she did not mock him like the other teachers. Instead, she seriously said that she would bring him to the classroom. His struggling body gradually stopped. "Let's go. I'll bring you in." Sima Yue held his hand and led him to the classroom. Everyone in the classroom looked at him curiously when they saw him. "He's just a student who's here to visit. You don't have to care about him. Just continue refining your pills and pretend that he doesn't exist," Sima Yue said. The students were only curious for a moment. For someone who had nothing to do with this, they felt that their own alchemy was more important. Very quickly they returned their attention to the pill furnace. Sima Yue stood at the front of the classroom with the young man beside her. He looked at everyone excitedly. "What's your name?" Sima Yue asked softly, afraid that she would scare him again. Yuxing, my name is Mo Yuxing. After the young man finished speaking, he turned his head and smiled at her. Mo Yuxing was actually given such a name by a man. However, it suited him quite well. His eyes were as clean as the rain. Do you like watching people concoct pills? She asked again. And then, Mo Yuxing nodded his head vigorously. Dong Li is only for me to watch. I'm not allowed to do anything else. So after not seeing Dong Li for a few days, you went to his courtyard? I wanted to see if he was around. Mo Yuxing's white face was slightly red. It seemed that he knew how to be shy. Teacher Dong Li has something to do recently. He's not in the academy. His classes have been taken over by others. Sima Yue explained. I know. I haven't seen him in a few days. Mo Yuxing said. What a smart child. Sima Yue praised. Although Mo Yuxing's body was that of a 16-year-old and he was slightly taller than her, his pure smile and bright eyes made people unconsciously treat him as a child. Hearing her praise, Mo Yuxing smiled even more brightly. Where do you usually stay? Sima Yue enticed him step by step. And it was to deepen their impression of each other. In the small garden. Where's the small garden? In the big garden. Where's the big garden? Where's the big garden? I don't know. Sima Yue face-bombed. Why was she being led to a ditch by him? Do you live alone? Or with others? I'm alone. Mother said that I've already grown up. I have to do my own things and live alone. If I'm obedient now, Mother will wake up. Mo Yuxing's childish voice was very serious. However, it made Sima Yue sad. Do you want to move to my courtyard? You can see a lot of medicinal ingredients there. You can also come to class with me. This way you won't miss their alchemy classes. No. Mo Yuxing shook his head. I live alone. Even if you move to my place, you'll still live alone. You have your own room and you have to do your own things. I won't help you. Sima Yue said, your life won't change. However, you can follow me to class and watch them refine pills. Sometimes I'll refine pills at my place too. How about it, do you want to go? Mo Yuxing hesitated for a moment before nodding his head in the end. Sima Yue smiled and said, then after class I'll go with you to move things? Okay. After confirming this matter, Mo Yuxing focused on watching them refine pills. Sima Yue did not disturb him and went to watch the students refine pills one by one. She also gave them some pointers. After walking one round, Mo Yuxing was no longer in front of the classroom. Sima Yue was stunned for a moment before she saw him running in front of a student. He was so excited that he was dancing with joy. Sima Yue went over and pulled him away, saying, we can't disturb him. So the pills were about to be formed. No wonder he was so excited. It seemed that he was very familiar with alchemy. But how was that possible? He was a person who could not cultivate and could not refine pills. How could he sense the situation of the pills in the furnace and know that they were about to be formed? She looked at him suspiciously, but he only stared at the furnace. When they lived together in the future, she would have time to understand him. The contractor of the White Tiger should not be a simple person. Thinking about the White Tiger, Sima Yue frowned slightly. Out of the 4 great divine beasts, why was it the only one whose aura was covered by the heavenly Tao? Even the black tortoise's shell could not be calculated. Even its contracted beast was so special. After that, she gave some pointers to the students. When they finished refining pills, the class would end. She pulled on Mo Yuxing's sleeve and said, let's go and move things. Okay. An hour later, Sima Yue successfully abducted a certain someone to stay in her courtyard. Chapter 2288. Mo Yuxing stood in Xiao Yimo's courtyard and sized up the small courtyard. You'll be living in that room from now on. Sima Yue pointed at the room beside hers. There were only 2 rooms here. Mo Yuxing walked straight to the herbs that were drying in the courtyard. I've never seen these herbs before. He turned his head and looked at Sima Yue excitedly. Just these few herbs made him feel that moving here was a good decision. Sima Yue walked over and squatted down beside him, saying, do you like herbs a lot? And it smells very good. Mo Yuxing said with a smile. Yuxing, when did you start to like the smell of herbs? Mo Yuxing tilted his head and thought for a while, saying, I don't know when it started, but when I smell it, I feel very comfortable and happy. You watch those students refine pills every day. Do you want to do it yourself? I can't. Mo Yuxing pouted and said with a bit of disappointment, they said that I can't cultivate and that I can't become an alchemist in this lifetime. Who said that? Yuxing, you can definitely become an alchemist. Sima Yue reached out and patted his head. Believe me, you can do it. Really? Mo Yusheng looked at Sima Yue and saw the certainty in her eyes. His disappointment disappeared and a pure smile climbed onto his face. Sima Yue nodded and thought to herself, "You're the White Tiger's contractor. How can you not cultivate?" Mo Yusheng looked around and after confirming that there was no one around, he moved his head to Sima Yue's side and said, "Let me tell you something but don't tell anyone else." Sima Yue saw that he was serious and smiled as she agreed. "Let me tell you, I often think that I'm an alchemist." Mo Yusheng said, "When I watch those people refine pills, I think that if I were to refine pills I would do something. It's a pity that I don't have any spiritual energy, otherwise I could try out my ideas." How could a child's mind be so familiar with alchemy? Did that mean that there was another soul living in his body? Or did he have memories that did not belong to him since he was young? Sima Yu was shocked, but a smile appeared on her face. When you can cultivate, you can try out your idea. Who knows, maybe what you think is right. I knew you wouldn't laugh at me. I didn't even say this to Dong Li. Mou's voice was like a child who had been praised, dancing with joy. In the past 2 days she had already found out about Mo Yusheng. She knew that he was the 7th prince of this country, but could only live in the academy. She knew that he stuck to Dong Li but avoided others like a ferocious beast. Now that he was telling her the words that he had never said to Dong Li, did that mean that she was closer to him than Dong Li in his heart? This could be considered a big step forward. Why would I laugh at you? This might be your talent in alchemy. As for not being able to cultivate, it doesn't matter. If I were you, I would have started cultivating when I was your age. Before this I was called trash. Sima Yue encouraged. Really? Mo Yusheng didn't believe it. Although he was very stupid, he could tell that she was very powerful. Why would I lie to you? In the past, Sima Yue said some things about the original host not being able to cultivate when she was young, making Mo Yusheng dumbstruck. So you were the same as me in the past? He exclaimed. That's right. If you don't recognize me as your master, I can find a way for you to cultivate. As long as you can cultivate, you can become an alchemist. This way your ideas can be realized. Don't you think so? Mo Yusheng hesitated and hesitated again. If you recognize me as your master, I have many more precious herbs for you. In the future I can give you all the herbs you need to refine pills. How about it? Sima Yue looked at him with a smile. She wasn't afraid that he wouldn't be moved. Seeing Mo Yusheng's hesitation and his eyes becoming brighter after hearing her promise, she suddenly felt like she was a strange uncle trying to lure a child. Alright, I'll recognize you as my master. Mo Yusheng was finally brainwashed by her conditions. Where are the herbs? Where are the herbs? Let me take a look. Don't be anxious. Since it's recognizing a master, there should be some procedures. Sima Yue said. Mo Yusheng was a bit impatient as he pouted and stared at her, expressing his dissatisfaction. Sima Yue facepalmed. Taking in such a disciple really made her heart tired. I won't go through the other procedures, but you should at least let your master drink the tea, right? Mo Yusheng stared at her, tilted his head and thought for a moment. Then he ran into the kitchen, found a bowl, filled it with water and brought it out. Then with a bang he knelt in front of her, raised the bowl over his head and said, Master, please drink this tea. Sima Yue looked at his serious expression and told herself that this was already not bad. She took the big bowl and drank a mouthful of the cold water inside. Then she threw the bowl into her spirit pagoda. What a shabby ceremony. This is Master's gift for you to play with. When you wake up one day, Master will give you a proper Master's gift. Sima Yue took out a few medicinal ingredients and gave them to Mo Yusheng. She also pulled him up from the ground. When Mo Yusheng saw those herbs, he treasured them greatly and took them back to his room. Sima Yue thought about how his room had not been decorated yet. Everything was in her spatial ring, so she resigned to her fate and went to decorate his room. In a house not far from the academy, Fushi and Black Tortoise were playing chess. Luozi's hand paused and he smiled. Master and disciple, it seems like Yue has found the contractor of White Tiger. I just don't know what kind of person he is. Since she has found him, she will definitely bring him over for us to see. Black Tortoise was not curious at all. If the timing was not right, he would like to see Sima Yue's bitter expression. However, at this point in time he couldn't bring himself to laugh. To find someone in the academy who did not know how to cultivate, other than trash, what else could he be? Thinking about White Tiger, the two of them could not help but sigh. They thought that he was trash, but when they saw Mo Yusheng, they knew that there was no such thing as the worst, only worse. He is your little disciple? Fushi wanted to cry but had no tears. Azure Dragon, you're also a divinator now. Did she find the wrong person? Black Tortoise looked at Mo Yuxing's pure eyes and could not bear to look at him. Sima Yue was also helpless. I also want Fushi to see if I found the wrong person. Yesterday, after accepting Mo Yuxing, he had been studying those herbs. She wanted to let Fushi and Black Tortoise take a look first, so she brought people over. Looking at him now, he had clearly said the answer. Chapter 2289. The group of people looked at Mo Yuxing, who was foolishly looking at the herbs in the courtyard, and felt helpless. Not only is this White Tiger's contractor unable to cultivate, his intelligence is also stuck at a few years old. Yue, are you sure you can guide him to cultivate? When she looked at Sima Yue pitifully, Sima Yue sighed and said, we have to, even if we can't, we don't have any other choice. However, I don't think Yuxing is that simple. What did you discover? Bai Xiaofei asked. At this moment he was not as cold as the first time they met. It was probably the happy life after marriage that chased away the coldness in his heart. He likes to refine pills and herbs. Not only that, he is very sensitive towards refining pills. He clearly has no spiritual energy, but he can feel others condensing pills. He is also very familiar with herbs. Sima Yue said, not to mention a person with an incomplete mind who cannot cultivate, even an ordinary alchemist would not be able to do this. You're saying that he might be like you, reincarnated in a corpse? Black Tortoise exclaimed. Sima Yue did not expect Black Tortoise to be able to calculate this. It seemed like they knew about her background. She nodded and said, I'm just guessing, I'm not sure. I can only say that he has secrets on him. And maybe these secrets are the reason why his mind is incomplete. Fushi said, we can't help you with these things, you can only find out by yourself. I'll have to trouble you. If there's nothing else, I'll bring him back. When we go back, we'll see if we can find the reason why he cannot cultivate. Sima Yue finished speaking and left. Mo Yuxing was sitting in the courtyard, looking and smelling the herbs that Sima Yue gave him. When he saw Sima Yue come out, he stood up and ran over happily, saying, Master, there's a very dense energy in here. Sima Yue looked at the herbs in his hands. She was very familiar with them. They could be used to refine 9th grade pills. Their grades were relatively high, but why didn't she feel any energy? Master. When Mo Yuxing saw Sima Yue staring at the herbs, he stuffed the herbs into her hands and looked at her happily. Every time she looked into his eyes, Sima Yue could not bear to reject him. She rubbed his head and said, the sound of the rain is really powerful. You can even sense the power within the medicinal ingredients. Hee hee. Mo Yuxing laughed even more happily after being praised. Let's go back to the academy. Sima Yue returned the herbs to him. Let's go back and study what this power is, okay? All right. Mo Yuxing nodded. Sima Yue turned around to look at the others before leaving with Mo Yuxing. Yue is really patient with him. Luckily, Lingyu has returned to the devil realm. Otherwise, the vinegar that he brewed would drown us. Black Tortoise said regretfully, as if he didn't see the show. Fushi rolled his eyes at him and left. He couldn't be bothered with this disrespectful old man. When Sima Yue brought Mo Yuxing back to the academy, she saw another black-clothed youth at the entrance of her courtyard. The youth stood at the entrance with his hands behind his back and looked at the small courtyard. When he heard movement behind him, he turned around to look at Sima Yue and Mo Yuxing. Seeing Mo Yuxing holding Sima Yue's sleeve, the youth's eyes flashed. He actually trusted someone so much? Mo Yuxing saw the black-clothed youth and excitedly let go of Sima Yue's sleeve. He ran over and hugged him, saying, Sixth brother, you're back to see Yuxing. Mo Yuxing patted Mo Yuxing's back and said, Father summoned me back, so I came to see you. Have you been happy during this period of time? Yuxing is very happy every day. Mo Yuxing let him go and pulled him in front of Sima Yue, saying, Sixth brother, this is my master. Master, sixth brother is here to see me. Sima Yue looked at this youth who was about the same age as Mo Yuxing. He wore the same clothes and had a similar face, but this youth seemed to have a maturity that surpassed his peers. Mo Yuxing looked at Sima Yue and then bowed, saying, Thank you for taking care of Yuxing. You are Mo Yuxing? Sima Yue asked. Yes. I heard that you have been guarding the imperial tomb? Yes. You're not going back this time, right? Yes. Sima Yue nodded and said, Since you're here, then go in and sit. I also have some things I want to ask you. Mo Yuxing seemed to know what Sima Yue wanted to ask and followed her into the courtyard. Sixth brother, let me tell you, my master is very strong. She is even better at refining pills than Dong Li. Moreover, she also has a lot of medicinal herbs, all of which smell very comfortable. Sixth brother, Master is very good to me. She is as gentle as mother and never fierce. Sixth brother, let me tell you secretly. Master won't stay here for long. If Master leaves, what if I can't bear to part with her? Mo Yuxing had been listening to Mo Yuxing talk with a smile. Hearing this, he asked, "How do you know?" "I just know." Mo Yuxing pouted and said, "Master has immortal energy on her body. How can a fairy with immortal energy stay here for long?" "You can see immortal energy from Yuxing? Then see if your brother has immortal energy on him?" Mo Yuxing smiled. "It's true." "Sixth brother, you don't believe me?" "I believe you. I believe everything Yuxing says." Sima Yue heard Mo Yuxing's words and laughed silently. "Yuxing, bring your sixth brother inside to talk. I'll go prepare some food for you guys." At this time there was no food in the school. Sima Yue could not eat, but Mo Yuxing could not. She could only personally cook. "Sixth brother, let me tell you. Master's food is very delicious. I ate it last night. It's better than anything I've eaten before." Mo Yuxing found a stool and sat down. Mo Yuxing moved a stool to his side and reached out to pull on his sleeve. Mo Yuxing saw his hand pulling on his sleeve and thought of how he pulled on Sima Yue's sleeve. Sima Yue finished cooking and let the two eat while she returned to her room. When Mo Yuxing knocked on the door, it was already late at night. "Come in." Mo Yuxing heard the response from inside and pushed the door open. What he saw was a beauty leisurely reading under the light. "He's asleep." Sima Yue raised her head and asked. "And?" Mo Yuxing nodded and walked over. He sat opposite her and said, "I didn't expect Yuxing to have another master. Yuxing likes you a lot. I can see that he's very happy after meeting you." "Yuxing is a simple child." Sima Yue said, "You don't have to worry that I'll hurt him. But you do have other motives for him, don't you?" Chapter 2290. Sima Yue stared at him. He stared back at her without a trace of fear in his eyes. "Even if I do have ulterior motives, what will you do?" She smiled. "I want to know, what do you want him to do?" Mo Yulai asked. "His mind is still that of a child and he doesn't know how to cultivate. He's just a useless person to you. If you want to use his identity as a prince, I should be more suitable than him." "What if you lose your life because of this?" Sima Yue asked. Mo Yulai looked at Sima Yue. Her smile was so gentle, but she could easily say that someone would lose their life. She was like a poppy flower. It was so beautiful, but it made people feel cold. "As long as Yuxing can be safe. Even if you want my life, so what?" He said calmly but firmly. If she really wanted his life in exchange for Yuxing's, he would definitely not hesitate. Sima Yue stared at his serious expression and smiled, saying, "It's good that he has a brother like you. I didn't come because of his identity as a prince, but don't worry, I won't take his life. He has responsibilities that he should shoulder. I'm only here to let him shoulder them." Mo Yulai was shocked by her words, but quickly accepted it, saying, "As expected. You know that he's not ordinary, right?" Sima Yue asked. Mo Yulai nodded. "It seems like you've noticed." Sima Yue said, "What's the matter with him with medicinal ingredients?" Mo Yulai hesitated for a while, saying, "I don't know either. I only know that he's been obsessed with medicinal ingredients since he was young. He's very obedient when he's with medicinal ingredients." "That's all?" Mo Yulai nodded. His imperial mother said that when he was born, the sky was filled with light. Imperial father was very happy because of this, but later on he found that his mind was stuck at a few years old, so he drifted away. Later on, his imperial mother died and I went to guard the imperial mausoleum. His days in the palace were not good. I thought of a way to get imperial father to allow him to live here. I don't know much else. Everyone says that the imperial family is heartless. Why are you so good to Yuxing? My life was not given birth by his mother, but it was given to me by his mother. Now that she's gone, I naturally have to take good care of him." Mo Yulai didn't elaborate, but Sima Yue guessed. "They have good taste." Sima Yue praised them out of the blue. She had already guessed why Mo Yulai came back. As long as one combined the new student selection with the academy situation, one would be able to understand the thoughts of the dean and the others. This Mo Yulai was indeed much better than the fourth prince Mo Yusher. Although it would be difficult to choose a prince with no power or influence, it was their last choice. Mo Yulai looked at her and said, "Can you tell me what you want Yuxing to do? What is his mission?" The mission on his shoulders is naturally the lives and future of all living beings in the world, Sima Yue said. Seeing him frown, she explained, I'm not talking about the people in your country but the whole world, including your country, your continent, and all the other continents. Mo Yulai never knew that there were other continents outside of this one, but when she said this he seemed to see a grand world. Wanyan continent was only a very small part of it. Did you come from outside? He asked. Yes. I came to this continent for Yuxing. How long will you stay here? It depends on Yuxing's situation. When he can shoulder the responsibility, I will complete my mission. Sima Yue didn't know either, but she felt that it wouldn't be short. When you leave, will Yuxing also leave? Yes. Sima Yue didn't hide it from him. Once Mo Yulai formed a contract with the White Tiger and woke it up, it would be considered a success. At that time, it would be time for the 4 divine beasts and the 4 ferocious beasts to settle the score. As the White Tiger's contracted beast, Mo Yulai naturally had to leave with it. She thought about what Black Tortoise and the others said. The White Tiger's injuries had already healed, but it was still sleeping. Only Mo Yulai's contract could wake it up. If Mo Yulai formed a contract early, then he wouldn't have the strength. When the time came, would he only be able to watch from the back? If they had to wait for him to become stronger before they could form a contract, then wouldn't they have to wait for a few hundred years? Sigh, what a headache. Mo Yulai didn't know about the countless twists and turns in her heart. He was still digesting the news that Mo Yulai was shouldering the world. The two of them were silent for a while. Sixth brother, why are you here with master? Mo Yulai appeared at the door, still rubbing his sleepy eyes. Aren't you going to sleep with Yuxing? Sixth brother is here to chat with your master. I want to see if you are obedient here. Mo Yulai stood up and said to Sima Yue, thank you for your explanation. It's too late, I'll go over first. Wait a moment. Sima Yue came to his side and tapped his forehead, saying, you and I are fated. During the time I was in Wanyan continent, I protected you. It would be a pity if such a good seedling died prematurely. More importantly, Clear Wind Academy would only be stable if he got up. When the academy was stable, she and Mo Yulai would have a better environment. If Mo Yulai died, it would be a blow to Mo Yulai. Mo Yulai only saw her tap lightly and a faint figure appeared in his sea of consciousness, looking at her suspiciously. That's my soul imprint. During the time I was in Wanyan continent, when your life was in danger, she would protect you. I would also sense it. Sima Yue said, alright, you guys go back and rest. Mo Yulai was a little excited. When he agreed to the principal's request, it meant that his life would be in danger at any time. Although he was fearless, he didn't want to die for nothing and let those people succeed. Now that he had her soul imprint, his life would be safe for the time being. He bowed to her and then went to the door. He pulled Mo Yulai's hand and said, let's go back and rest. All right. Master, you should sleep early too. Mo Yulai didn't forget to remind Sima Yue. Sima Yue waited for the two of them to leave before taking out a medicinal ingredient. This was the same medicinal ingredient that Mo Yulai said had power. She turned it over and over for a while but still couldn't find any power. The next morning, Mo Yulai and Mo Yulai bid farewell. Sima Yue had already made breakfast. You're going back to the palace? Eat breakfast before you leave. Sima Yue sat down and started eating. Mo Yulai and Mo Yulai came over and the three of them ate breakfast together. As he drank the warm porridge, he felt that his heart, which had been cold for a long time, was also warm. He finally understood why Mo Yulai, who was always on guard against others, liked her so much. Chapter 2291. Mo Yulai left the small courtyard after eating breakfast and went to find the dean to discuss some matters. Before entering the palace, they had to make some preparations. Mo Yuxing sent him to the entrance of the small courtyard and pulled on his sleeve, unwilling to let him go. He only let go after Mo Yulai promised that he would visit him often. His eyes turned red as he stared at Mo Yulai's back. Sima Yue looked at his back and sighed, Yuxing, come here. Mo Yuxing came to Sima Yue's side. Sima Yue took out a handkerchief for him to wipe his tears. Are you worried about your sixth brother? She asked. Mo Yuxing nodded. Sixth brother is in danger. How do you know sixth brother is in danger? She asked again. Mo Yulai definitely wouldn't tell Mo Yuxing those things, so he had guessed it himself. Eldest brother and the others are very fierce. If sixth brother returns to the palace and doesn't leave, they will kill him. Mo Yuxing said. Then do you want to protect your sixth brother? Mo Yuxing fiercely nodded. If you want to protect sixth brother, you have to become strong. If you want to become strong, you have to cultivate. Sima Yue said. Mo Yuxing lowered his head and said dejectedly, I can't cultivate. I'm trash. Who said you're trash? You just can't cultivate for now. Did you forget that Master couldn't cultivate before? As long as you find the reason why you can't cultivate and solve the problem, you'll be fine. Why don't you let Master examine you and see why you can't cultivate? All right. Mo Yuxing nodded and followed Sima Yue into the room. Sima Yue sent her divine sense into his body and found that there was nothing wrong with his body. He wasn't poisoned, his meridians weren't blocked. The reason she guessed before didn't exist. His body was a perfectly normal body. Sima Yue searched his body for a long time before giving up and leaving. Master, did you find the reason? Mo Yuxing asked. Not yet. Sima Yue said, let's go to class first. We'll see if we can find out the reason when we come back, okay? All right. Sima Yue brought him to the classroom. Today she was going to introduce some herbs to the students. These herbs were all rare and had different growth environments, harvesting methods, preservation methods, and refining methods. When she was teaching, Mo Yuxing stayed quietly at the back of the classroom, looking a little unhappy. After class, Sima Yue brought him back. She gave him some herbs and asked him to dry them in the courtyard. She gave him the medicinal ingredients that she had mentioned today, and they had to be handled very carefully. Originally, she thought that Mo Yuxing was absent-minded during class and wouldn't be able to handle them well. She didn't expect that he would be able to handle each of the medicinal ingredients extremely well. After drying the herbs, he squatted beside them and stared at them in a daze. Sima Yue took out her sound stone and contacted Fuxi and the others. She told them about Mo Yuxing's situation. Are you sure there's nothing wrong with his body? Fuxi asked. I checked in the morning. There's nothing wrong with him. Sima Yue said, not only is there no problem, his innate talent should be very good as well. However, he just can't sense any spiritual energy, let alone guiding spiritual energy into his body to cultivate. Then this is troublesome. Black Tortoise sighed. If they could find out what was wrong with his body, they would be able to prescribe the right medicine and let him start cultivating. However, his body didn't have any problems. What should they do? Can you guys calculate? Even if there's some direction, it'll be good. Sima Yue asked. No. We've already tried. Regarding Mo Yuxing, other than the fact that she's your disciple, there's nothing else. How can this be? Sima Yue was extremely shocked. Actually, there's nothing strange about this. The heavenly Tao covered up the matter of the white tiger. Since Mo Yuxing is its contractor, it's normal for him to be covered up by the heavenly Tao. Black Tortoise said, there's also a possibility that it's because of him. He's a little strange, isn't he? If there's no reason, it wouldn't be like this. In short, it was just a sentence. They couldn't calculate anything, she could only rely on herself. Sima Yue broke the connection and kept the sound stone. She thought about Mo Yuxing's situation again, but she still couldn't think of a reason. She could only ask for help. Why did you call me here? The flamboyant throne appeared in the room, along with Ming's ugly face. I have something to ask you. Sima Yue said with a smile, I can't find anyone else now, so I can only look for you. Ming didn't know if it was because this sentence successfully pleased him, but his expression became better. He said, say it, what's the matter that you can't solve? Sima Yue told him about Mo Yuxing's situation. She didn't even mention the fact that Black Tortoise and the rest couldn't calculate anything about him. You're talking about that little child in the courtyard? Ming looked at Mo Yuxing, who was squatting on the ground. Yes. Help me take a look, why can't he cultivate? Sima Yue looked at him expectantly. I really have to hand it to you. Ming glanced at her. With a wave of his hand, a black fog was released from his palm. It flew to Mo Yuxing's side and enveloped him. The other side was connected to his hand. Mo Yuxing, who was squatting in front of the herbs, didn't know what was going on. He only felt his body turn cold and fell to the ground. Sima Yue looked at Mo Yuxing worriedly, but she didn't go up to interrupt Ming. After 2 to 3 minutes, Ming retracted the black fog. How is it? Do you know the reason? Sima Yue asked. He's a cultivator undergoing tribulation. Ming said, people like him have something different from ordinary people. They have their own strength, so normal cultivation methods aren't suitable for them. Mo Yuxing is a cultivator undergoing tribulation? Sima Yue was shocked. Yes, so don't use normal methods to guide him. Instead, activate the strength in his body. How do I activate it? Their bodies don't feel any different. Their strength was only sealed by the heavenly Tao. It's not that they don't have it anymore. Ming looked at her as if she was stupid. Didn't you also have a period of time where your strength disappeared? Sima Yu recalled that when she first came out, her power was sealed by the heavenly Tao. It was only after she blocked the Ghost Clan's people in Fair Eastern City and attracted the lightning tribulation that she returned to normal after being ruthlessly struck. Therefore, Mo Yuxing needed a stimulation point. As long as that point was stimulated, he would be able to recover his strength. Don't ask me how to stimulate him. Every cultivator undergoing tribulation is different. You can figure it out yourself. Ming rejected her silent request. Then he sat on the throne and left. She was the only one who had the guts to ask someone like him to come and answer her questions. Chapter 2292. Dark left just like that and didn't give her any advice. However, she was already very satisfied with this harvest. At least she knew the reason. Now that she had a direction, she knew where to work hard. She walked to Mo Yuxing's side and carried him to his room. After placing him on the bed, she checked his body and injected some spiritual energy into his body, expelling all the dark energy that Dark left in his body. Mo Yuxing felt as if his body had fallen into an ice cellar before he saw his master. His master gently patted his head and he felt the coldness in his body dissipate. "Master," he muttered softly. Sima Yue covered him with a blanket. When she heard his voice, she smiled and got up to leave. She came to the side of the herbs that were drying in the courtyard and squatted down. She picked up a herb and looked at it repeatedly. Mo Yuxing was a cultivator who was going through tribulation. Normal cultivation methods were useless to him. She had to find another way. What she could confirm now was that he definitely had something to do with pills. It was very likely that he was an alchemist, which was why he loved refining pills so much. Now, if she wanted to find a way to make him cultivate, it seemed like she could only start with pills or herbs. Suddenly she remembered what Mo Yuxing said yesterday. "Master, there's a very dense energy inside." She couldn't feel the energy inside the herbs, but he could. Didn't that mean that he could absorb the energy inside the herbs? When she thought of this possibility, she wanted to wake Mo Yuxing up and let him try. However, when she thought of how he was injured by Dark, she decided to let him rest and recover. Mo Yuxing slept all the way until the next day. Sima Yue went to class and saw that he wasn't awake yet. She let little Seven and Hua Hua out to guard him while she went to class. When he woke up, he saw that there were two women by his bed. He struggled to sit up on the bed. "Who are you? Where did you hide my master?" He hugged his blanket tightly and trembled in fear. "Don't be afraid. We're your master's contracted beasts. We're here to protect you." Little Seven said. "Your master went to class. When he's done, you'll be able to see him." Little Seven's voice was very soft. Perhaps because she was a spiritual herb, Mo Yuxing slowly let down his guard against her. However, he still curled up on the bed and didn't get down. Little Seven thought for a moment and took out a big radish that she had collected. She said, "This is for you to play with." When Mo Yuxing saw the medicinal ingredients, he hesitated for a moment before slowly moving over and taking the medicinal ingredients from her hands. She said that she was his master's contracted beast, so she shouldn't be a bad person. Mo Yuxing thought so, and for the sake of the big radish, he decided to play with her for a while. "Yuxing, have you eaten herbs before?" Little Seven asked. "No." Mo Yuxing shook his head. "How can medicinal ingredients be eaten? Why can't medicinal herbs be eaten?" Little Seven asked back. "You haven't eaten them before, have you?" Mo Yuxing tilted his head and thought about it. What she said seemed to make sense. "You can feel the power in the herbs, right? I can also feel the power of the herbs." Little Seven said. "Really?" Mo Yuxing looked at Little Seven in surprise. Even his master could not see the power in the herbs, but she could? "It's those green things that look like water vapor, right?" Little Seven asked. Yes, that's right. You can really see it." Mo Yuxing was extremely excited and almost went up to hug Little Seven. "Don't be so excited, little fellow." Little Seven patted his shoulder and said seriously, "I've never met anyone who could see the power in the herbs before. Let's go outside and have a chat?" Sure. Mo Yuxing nodded and carried the big radish out. Hua Hua saw Little Seven follow him out. The two of them were discussing in full swing in front of the herbs in the courtyard. She speechlessly took out a chair and sat at the side, playing with the flowers. The days were boring, so she could only play with flowers. Hua Hua covered her surroundings with flowers when she suddenly heard a miserable cry. She was so scared that the flower in her hand was thrown away before it even fully bloomed. "It hurts." Mo Yuxing laid on the ground and rolled around, scratching his body non-stop. What's wrong with him? Wasn't he fine just now? Hua jumped up from the chair. This Mo Yuxing was a very important person. If something happened to him, how could the two of them face Yue? I only gave him a bite of the big radish. Who knew that he would suddenly become like this? Little Seven was also a bit panicked. Let's quickly call Yu back. Hua said and contacted Sima Yue through the contract. In the next second, Sima Yue appeared in the courtyard. What happened to Yuxing? Sima Yue saw Mo Yuxing rolling around on the ground and was very surprised. I only gave him a bite of the big radish. Little Seven said. Sima Yue saw the herbs on the ground and did not have time to scold Little Seven. She waved her hand and wrapped Mo Yuxing with energy, temporarily relieving his pain. Mo Yuxing woke up a bit and saw Sima Yue. He cried and said, Master, I'm in pain. Don't be afraid. Master is here. You'll be fine. Sima Yue went up and hugged him. She carried him into the room and placed him on the bed. She checked his body and pulled open his clothes. She took out a few silver needles and poked his stomach a few times. After a few needles, Mo Yuxing felt much better. However, he still felt a force rampaging in his body. Master Yuxing is in pain. His tears smeared his face and his teary eyes looked very pitiful. Yuxing, the force in your body is the force of the herbs that you feel. I can help you expel it. However, didn't you want to cultivate to protect your sixth brother? This is a chance for you to cultivate. As long as you can absorb that force into your dantian, you can cultivate in the future. Master Yuxing won't. No problem. I will help you guide that force. You just have to endure it. Sima Yue said, however, this process will be more painful. Can you endure it? For sixth brother I can. Mo Yuxing gritted his teeth. Then I'm going to start. Don't resist that force. Sima Yue said and started to control the force in his body to slowly move towards his dantian. Because it had to go through his meridians and let the spirit energy nourish them, her speed was not fast. Mo Yuxing's body had never experienced this before. When the spirit energy passed through his meridians, he felt like he was going to explode. He bit his lips so hard that his lips were almost pierced through. His entire lips were dripping with blood. The pain in his body made him want to give up. However, when he thought of sixth brother's gaze on him, he had to endure it. Endure. His eyes stared straight and his eyeballs could not even turn. This made Sima Yue's heart ache. However, he could not give up now. Otherwise, all the pain he suffered before would have been wasted. Chapter 2293. Once Sima Yu had guided the energy to his dantian and calmed it down, she said that it was done and Mo Yuxing immediately fainted. Sima Yu checked his body and made sure that he was fine before feeding him some pills to let him rest. Yu, I'm sorry. Little Seven lowered her head as she blamed herself. Today's matter was too dangerous. If it wasn't for Sima Yue coming back to control him, Mo Yuxing might have been crippled. If the four god beasts couldn't gather, the consequences would be unimaginable. You were a little rash today, but you had good intentions. Luckily this matter turned out okay. I won't punish you. When Yuxing wakes up, you can apologize to him yourself. Sima Yue said. Oh. Little Seven stood beside Mo Yuxing's bed, planning to wait for him to wake up. Sima Yue knew that she was blaming herself, so she didn't say much and went out with Hua. The first person Mo Yuxing saw when he woke up was Little Seven. He blinked his eyes and then revealed a pure smile to Little Seven. Little Seven, have you been watching over me? You're finally awake. How is it? Does your body still hurt? Little Seven asked. It hurts. Mo Yuxing answered honestly. Sorry Yuxing, I shouldn't have let you eat the big radish. Little Seven apologized. It's okay, I ate it myself. Mo Yuxing didn't blame her. I think I saw Master before I fell asleep. Master even said that I could cultivate. You can cultivate, but you have to wait until your body recovers. Little Seven said, when you're better, I'll let you eat my essence, okay? Okay. Mo Yuxing didn't know what her essence was, but he knew that she was looking at him with a sad gaze. If this could make her feel less sad, then he would eat it. Sima Yue knew that he had woken up, so she opened the door and came to the bedside asking, how do you feel? My entire body hurts. Mo Yuxing looked at Sima Yu pitifully, like a child who had been hurt and was crying to his mother. Sima Yu sat beside the bed and gave him a checkup. She then took out a pill and fed it to him, saying, your meridians and muscles have been ruptured by your spirit energy. Although you've taken this pill, it will take some time to recover. Master, I'm hungry. Emo said. Little Seven laughed. If you know that you're hungry, then it means that your condition isn't bad. I've made you some medicinal porridge, I'll bring it to you later. Sima Yu looked at him and thought of Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiyao. They were the same age as him and liked to act coquettishly. She didn't know if they were well or not and whether they were injured. This was the effect of Sima Yue. Was the Yue's during this period time? She Yue was Yue. When Fuxi and the others found out that Mo Yuxing had his first strand of spirit energy, they were so excited that they almost ran to the school. During this time, Mo Yulai came to visit Mo Yuxing once. She didn't know what the two brothers were talking about, but when Mo Yulai came out, his eyes were red and his steps were heavy. Sima Yue watched him leave and felt that he was carrying a heavy burden. Today, Mo Yuxing got up early in the morning and rummaged through his room and courtyard. After a while, he ran over and said, Master, where's my big radish? I put it away. Sima Yue said. Master, give it to me. I want to eat a bite. Mo Yuxing reached out his hand. No. Sima Yue refused. What? Can't you cultivate after eating that? Mo Yuxing was getting better at expressing himself. Sima Yue found that after being with her, his intelligence seemed to have increased by quite a bit. You only had your first strand of spirit energy after eating the herbs, but it's also very harmful to your body. We need to use a better method to cultivate and not this method, understand? Sima Yue explained patiently. Then how do I cultivate? Mo Yuxing asked obediently. Can you feel the spirit energy in the air now? Sima Yue asked. What's the spirit energy in the air? Sima Yue taught him how to meditate, but no matter how hard he tried, he still couldn't feel the spirit energy in the air. Even if he used the spirit energy in his body, it was still the same. Sima Yue finally realized that Mo Yuxing really couldn't rely on this method to cultivate. She took out the big radish, cut a piece and placed it in his palm. Then she let him feel it and he finally felt the energy fluctuation. Thus she guided him to absorb the energy. As Mo Yuxing didn't know anything about cultivation and his intelligence was relatively low, it took her a lot of effort to teach him how to absorb the energy in the herbs. As he was still too weak and didn't know how to control himself, she strictly controlled the amount he cultivated. Every time she would only cut a piece for him and give him the rest after he finished absorbing it. Knowing that Little Seven wanted to give her essence to him, she called Little Seven over to teach her a lesson. The energy in her essence was much stronger than these herbs. Mo Yuxing was so weak now, even if he couldn't absorb a single drop, it would cause an accident. Little Seven was afraid that something like that day would happen again, so she didn't dare to give her essence to Mo Yuxing in private. Teacher, where's your disciple? I haven't seen him in class recently. Someone asked during class. What? Is there something you can't figure out and want to ask Yuxing? Sima Yue was already familiar with her students and would occasionally joke with them. She knew that she wouldn't be their teacher and student for long, so she tried her best to help them broaden their path and let them walk further on the path of alchemy. No way. The student who spoke denied, it's just that he used to come with you every day. Now that I haven't seen him for a few days, I'm still not used to it. He probably won't come again. Sima Yue said. He has his own things to do. After he could cultivate, he would be able to try alchemy himself. At that time, he wouldn't need to watch others refine pills. After class, Sima Yue's people blocked her way. Teacher Yue. A seductive girl blocked her way outside the classroom. When she saw her come out, she handed her an invitation and said arrogantly, Our master invites you to attend a banquet tomorrow night. Who's your master? Sima Yue didn't even look at the invitation. It's the crown prince, right? That's right. That girl said proudly, Our master is hosting a banquet to entertain the teachers of the various academies. He heard that you're good, so he sent you an invitation to attend tomorrow. No need, I'm not interested. Sima Yue hadn't seen the crown prince before, but to be persuaded by the fourth prince to find trouble with her, it could be seen that he was a brainless person. As soon as she left, the woman suddenly took out a whip and attacked her. Chapter 2294. When the students came out of the classroom and saw this scene, a few of them cried out, Teacher Yue, be careful. Just as the whip was about to touch Sima Yue's back, she disappeared from her original position. The students all let out a long sigh of relief. How could they forget that their teacher was very powerful? The girl did not think that Sima Yue would actually disappear from her original position without a sound. She looked around vigilantly, trying to see where Sima Yue was. However, the whip in her hand was suddenly snatched away and her body was ruthlessly whipped. Ah! The whip hit her body and she could not help but cry out in pain. This was not the end of the whip. Before she could react, the whip came from all directions and she could not retaliate at all. Her dress was torn and one could even vaguely see places that should not be seen. Being beaten to this extent in public, the girl was extremely ashamed and angry. However, she did not even see Sima Yue's shadow. Sima Yue had whipped enough and slowly appeared in the air. She threw the whip in front of the girl and only said one word, "Scram." Then, she disappeared from her original position and returned to the small courtyard. The girl crawled up from the ground and looked at the students surrounding her. She whipped the ground and fiercely threatened, "If any of you continue to look, I will dig your eyes out. Dressing so flirtatiously in our academy and you still don't want others to look?" Someone jeered. "You better scram quickly. Don't wait for our teacher Yue to come back and slap you to death. I am the first prince's personal servant. You dare to bully me? Be careful of your little lives." The girl ran out after speaking. Some people were worried for Sima Yue. After all, the other party was the first prince. They were worried that the first prince would take revenge after brushing away his face. Teacher Yue is so powerful. Even the first prince can't do anything to her. This is the power of a strong person. We should obediently go back and cultivate. The group of onlookers finally left. Sima Yue returned to the small courtyard. Little Dream and Little Roar were playing in the courtyard while paying attention to Mou's movements. Seeing Sima Yue, Little Roar threw himself into her embrace and said, "Yu, why are you angry?" Although Sima Yu didn't put that woman in her eyes, she wasn't in a good mood after being disgusted by such a self-righteous person. Little Roar and her had a soul contract so he could feel the minute changes. "I met someone who was blocking my way," she replied. "How's the rain?" "He's been cultivating in his room and hasn't come out yet." Little Dream said, "I didn't expect his willpower to be so firm. After cultivating for so long, he didn't get impatient or anything." Mo Yuxing's mental age was only a few years old, and he was at the age where he was active. They thought that he would come out to play after cultivating for a while, but they didn't expect him to cultivate for 2 days without coming out. For someone as pure as him, once he has someone he wants to protect in his heart, he will be even more persistent. Sima Yue said, "Mo Yuxing is very lucky to have a younger brother like him." At this moment there was a fluctuation in the house. Sima Yue and Little Dream looked towards Mo Yuxing's room in surprise. He advanced in rank? So fast. Little Roar came out from Sima Yue's embrace. "Yue, your disciple's talent is very good. He's a cultivator who went through calamity, how bad can his talent be?" Sima Yue said. Now he could cultivate, but where was the white tiger? It shouldn't be in the academy. Could it be that she had to bring it out to travel? If not, he wouldn't be able to form a contract with it even if he stayed in the academy. Sigh, without a direction, she didn't know what the white tiger was going to do. Mo Yuxing successfully advanced in rank. When he opened the door and saw Sima Yue in the courtyard, he ran to her side and smiled, "Master, I advanced in rank." "Not bad." Sima Yue patted his head and said, "Continue to work hard. When you become stronger, you will be able to protect your sixth royal brother." "Master, give me the big radish. I will absorb it bit by bit." Mo Yuxing promised. "No, you have already advanced in rank so many times. Now you need to stabilize yourself. Otherwise it will be very difficult to advance in rank in the future." Sima Yue said, "Do you have anything you want to do?" Mo Yuxing tilted his head and thought for a while before saying, "I want to see sixth royal brother and tell him that I advanced in rank. I'll ask the dean if I can contact your sixth royal brother." Sima Yue tried to say, "If it's not convenient for your sixth royal brother, let's not disturb him, all right?" "All right. Sixth royal brother is in danger. You have to be careful." Mo Yuxing obediently replied. Sima Yue saw that he was so obedient and felt a little heartache for his sensible mentality. Actually, she could secretly bring him to see Mo Yuxing and no one would find out. However, she did not want him to feel that he had to be sneaky in order to see his own brother. He could not understand all of this now. "Teacher Yue." There was a knock on the door of the small courtyard. Sima Yue went to open the door and saw that it was Dong Li, who she had not seen in a long time. "Director Dong Li, you're back. Please come in." Sima Yue did not know many people in this academy and was rather familiar with things. "All right." Dong Li followed her into the courtyard. Mo Yuxing was rather happy to see him and came in front of him to call him. He did not know how to hide his strength. Dong Li saw the fluctuations of spiritual energy on his body and looked at Sima Yue in shock, asking, "He knows how to cultivate?" "Yes. He just started not long ago." Sima Yue did not say much and changed the topic, asking him, "Now that you're back, are you still going to leave?" "I won't be leaving for the time being." "That's good." If he did not leave for the time being, it meant that the things they were doing in secret were going smoothly. "Why are you here today?" Sima Yue asked. "It's like this. In 2 days there will be a teachers' meeting. The emperor specifically asked you to attend." Dong Li looked at her with some difficulty. The academy did not have the strength to directly fight with the emperor. Now that the emperor wanted Sima Yue to appear as a teacher, the academy could not refuse. However, they all knew of Sima Yue's strength and did not dare to directly ask her. "Invite me?" Sima Yue frowned. The first prince's people had just been beaten back and now the emperor was here? Was this also the fourth prince's doing? "Not only you, the seventh prince also wants to go that day." Dong Li said, "I don't know if it's because he knows that you accepted the seventh prince as your disciple." 2 days later? "Since Yusheng wants to go, then I'll bring him." She could bring him to see Mo Yusheng. "Then we'll go together 2 days later." "All right." Once Dong Li left, Mo Yusheng grabbed her sleeve and asked, "Master, are we going to see 6th Imperial Brother?" "And in 2 days. In these 2 days I'll teach you how to conceal your aura." Chapter 2295. In terms of cultivation, Mo Yusheng was really talented. He really learned the method of concealing his aura within 2 days. Now that he stood in front of others, no one would know that he could cultivate. Other than this, Sima Yue also left her soul imprint in his sea of consciousness. She even let Little Black turn into a black ribbon and wrap it around his hand. Mo Yusheng didn't understand why she did this, but he knew that she did it for his own good, so he didn't object. After everything was packed, Sima Yue brought Mo Yusheng to the dean. The dean, Dong Li, and 2 other heads were already waiting for them. When they arrived, they got on the beast carriage and drove towards the palace. The first carriage was for the dean and the other heads. Sima Yue brought Mo Yusheng and sat in the second carriage. Mo Yusheng had never seen the outside before. He excitedly pulled open the curtains and looked around. When he saw something fun, his eyes would light up and he would even dance with joy. Sima Yue kept looking at him with a smile. With such a pure personality, it was really hard to associate him with someone who was going through a tribulation. "Master, the outside is really fun. Can we come out more often in the future?" Mo Yusheng looked at her expectantly like a child. "Do you like the outside?" Sima Yue asked. "I like it. There are so many things that I haven't seen before." "Then Master will bring you to even further places in the future to see different people and things. How about it?" Okay. "When we reach the palace later, you have to follow me or your 6th brother. You can't be alone, okay?" Sima Yue reminded. And I know. Mo Yusheng had Little Black in her soul imprint. She wasn't worried about his safety, but she wanted to be as low-key as possible. The beast carriage drove all the way to the palace's second gate. They had to walk after that. There were many beast carriages parked here. When Sima Yue and Mo Yusheng got off the carriage, they attracted a lot of attention. Those who were able to participate in this academy conference were all people with extraordinary positions in their respective academies. They were either the dean, the vice dean, or the outstanding person in charge of their respective academies. Thus, everyone knew each other. This was the first time he had seen an unfamiliar woman in such an occasion. Moreover, she had brought a young man with her. That youth was clearly mentally handicapped. How could 2 people like that participate in the academy assembly? Looking at the people around her, weren't they the stubborn old men from the Clear Wind Academy? "Dean Hao, this is the academy assembly. Why did you bring irrelevant people here for? Could it be that your academy has no one and you're looking for someone to make up the numbers?" After a pot-bellied man finished speaking, the surrounding people all laughed. All of them had either sided with the first prince or the fourth prince. Regardless of which side they were on, none of them had any good feelings towards the Neutral Breeze Academy. Does our Clear Breeze Academy need to make up the numbers? Don't tell me you've forgotten that a single teacher from our academy defeated several of your teachers back then? Dean Hao had a smile on his face. His voice wasn't loud, but it was like a slap to that person's face. "To say, Dean Hao, you can't possibly think that the present is still the same as the past, right?" Another tall and skinny man stepped forward and said, "It's still unknown what results your Qingfeng Academy will achieve this year." "Dean Hao, who is this young lady?" If you've casually brought 2 people here, the Emperor will not allow you to play such tricks. Another person asked. Sima Yue was being sized up by these people. Some of them were scrutinizing her, some of them were provoking her, some of them were lustful, and some of them were too revealing as if they wanted to do something to her. They looked at Mo Yuxing with all kinds of disgust and ridicule. Her gaze darkened and she released her aura, immediately suppressing everyone. BFFF. The people who spoke earlier were focused on by her and couldn't withstand her pressure. They immediately spat out blood and fell to the ground after taking 2 steps back. The others looked at Sima Yue in horror. Who was this person? How could she have such a strong pressure? Dean Hao and the others stood beside Sima Yue and were in a better state than the others. However, they still felt the pressure. Teacher. Mo Yuxing tugged on Sima Yue's sleeve. Only then did Sima Yue retract her pressure and coldly said, "Before you ridicule others, you should first see if you have the qualifications to do so. Yuxing, let's go. Those royal brothers of yours probably can't wait to see you." After saying this, she pulled Mo Yuxing and walked into the palace. No one dared to say another word. The entire palace entrance was so quiet that water could drip out. Dean Hao and the others knew that Sima Yue was angry, so they didn't say anything and followed her in. After they left, those people slowly came back to their senses. They wiped the sweat off their foreheads and said, "Who is this girl? How could she be so powerful? No matter who she is, she almost lost her life this time. She even dares to ridicule such a strong person. As expected, she's bold and doesn't care about her own life. That's not all. She's relying on the fact that she's from the first prince's faction. If that strong person gets angry and kills all of you, TSK, I'm afraid you won't even be able to withstand a single blow, right?" Those people who spoke earlier were terrified. Their opponents were starting to hit them while they were down. Don't be happy too early. She came with the Clear Wind Academy. Your relationship with the Clear Wind Academy isn't good either. If we were to be killed, do you think you can escape? Sima Yue wasn't interested in the conversation behind her. She brought Mo Yuxing into the palace. The little eunuch who led the way felt his heart tremble. Fortunately, not long after, the emperor and the other princes came out to welcome them. This little eunuch could leave after accomplishing his mission. "We are honored that the Venerable One has condescended to participate in the Academy Assembly." Emperor Mo Xiao bowed towards Sima Yue. "The Emperor has invited the Clear Wind Academy. As a teacher of the Academy, I should come. Moreover, the Emperor has personally sent me an invitation. How can I disappoint the Emperor's good intentions?" Sima Yue said with a faint smile. This made the faces of the people who came in behind her turn red. She was actually personally invited by the Emperor. Just now they had said that she could invite anyone she wanted. Sima Yue patted Mo Yuxing's hand and said, "Yuxing, what did we talk about before?" "Master, I remember." Mo Yuxing let go of her sleeve and took 2 steps forward. He bowed towards Mo Xiao and said, "This son greets Imperial Father." Everyone present was stunned when they heard the words Master and Father. Mo Xiao looked at Mo Yuxing and asked with some doubt, "You are Yuxing?" "Yes, Imperial Father." Mo Yuxing stood up and returned to Sima Yue's back. He pulled on her sleeve. With so many people, it was safer to stay by Master's side. Chapter 2296. That fool was actually standing in front of them. This made the princes very unhappy. Especially when they heard him call Sima Yue Master and pull on her sleeve. Such a powerful expert, such a beautiful woman, was actually this fool's master. "Teacher Yue, how could you be Yuxing's master?" The eldest prince, Mo Yuding, asked. Sima Yue saw that Mo Yuding was truly shocked. Mo Xiao and the others were also the same. She secretly thought that they didn't know before? Then how could Mo Yuxing participate? She looked at Mo Yulai, and Mo Yulai nodded at her without a trace. She raised her eyebrows. It was actually him? Mo Yuxing was a bit afraid of Mo Yuding. Hearing him say this, his body unconsciously trembled. He pulled on Sima Yue's sleeve and hid behind her. Sima Yue glanced at the eldest prince and said, "I found Yuxing pleasing to the eye, so I took him in as my disciple. What do I need to report to you?" Mo Yuding couldn't breathe from the pressure of her gaze, and his face turned red. Fortunately, Sima Yue didn't want to embarrass the eldest prince in front of everyone. She only gave him a warning before withdrawing her pressure. Mo Xiao turned around and glared at the eldest prince before smiling apologetically at Sima Yue. "This child is impolite. Teacher Yue, please don't mind him." Sima Yue gave a faint snort and didn't say anything. She also didn't have any intention of continuing. The emperor smiled and called for them to head to the venue. Teacher Yue, where did you come from? Teacher Yue, when did you join Clear Wind Academy? Teacher Yue, the emperor talked to her the entire way, almost ignoring Dean Hao, Dongli, and the other people from the other academies. However, Sima Yue didn't pay much attention to him. He asked 5 questions and she answered 1, but this didn't reduce the emperor's enthusiasm. Later on, the emperor also discovered this and changed his strategy. He began to ask about Mo Yuxing. When it came to Mo Yuxing, she would speak more, which made the emperor very happy. When they arrived at the venue, the emperor directly invited Sima Yue to sit beside him. Sima Yue did not stand on ceremony and brought Mo Yuxing to sit beside him. Mo Yuxing pulled Mo Yulai and was unwilling to come over. Yuxing, be good. Imperial brother's seat is below. Mo Yu patted his hand, but Mo Yuxing refused to let go. I want to sit with Imperial brother. Come and sit with us. Mo Yuxing held his hand and refused to let go. When she saw Sima Yue looking over, she looked at her for help. The emperor looked over and sized Mo Yulai up without leaving a trace, saying, Yulai, you can sit next to Yuxing. Yes, father. With the emperor's words, Mo Yulai sat next to Mo Yuxing. Thus, the seats became Sima Yue, Mo Yuxing, and Mo Yulai. Even the 4th prince, Mo Yushi, who had always been doted on by the emperor, had no choice but to sit behind him. The crown prince sat on the other side. Below him were the deans of the other academies. Behind them were the teachers of the various academies. Sima Yue sat in the main seat and did not pay attention to the people below. She also did not pay attention to what they were saying. She was cold the entire time. However, she was too strong and no one dared to complain. Sima Yue felt that this was not bad. Occasionally acting cold could block a lot of things. Of course, it was also because she had the strength now. If this happened to her 200 years ago, she would have been slapped to death. After sitting for a while, she found that Mo Yuxing was a bit impatient, so she said to the emperor, Emperor, this is my first time coming to the palace. Can I take a look around? You want to take a look around the palace? The emperor was stunned. I'll accompany you. No need. Let the 6th prince accompany us. Sima Yue said, Yuxing is afraid of strangers. If there are strangers, he will feel uncomfortable. That's fine. The emperor did not force it. For such a strong person, the best thing to do was to follow her wishes. Yulai, bring teacher Yue around the palace. Do not neglect her. This son obeys. Mo Yulai stood up and replied. Then, under everyone's gaze, he left with Sima Yue and Mo Yuxing. After the 3 left the main hall, Mo Yuxing grabbed Mo Yulai's sleeve and said happily, 6th brother, was my performance good? Very good. Mo Yulai smiled and said, Yuxing has grown up. Mo Yuxing whispered into his ear, 6th brother, I'll tell you a secret. I can cultivate now. Really? Although Mo Yulai was asking Mo Yuxing, he was looking at Sima Yue. Sima Yue nodded and said, not only can I cultivate, but my talent is also not bad. It's just that my cultivation method is a little different. Mo Yulai did not know what she meant by different, but knowing that he could cultivate made him very happy. After today there will be more people coming to seek refuge with you. Sima Yue said. Mo Yulai bowed to her and said, today's matter was because I had no other choice. Please forgive me, senior. Things are not going well? Sima Yue asked. Those who have a bit of strength look down on me, a prince who has always been guarding the imperial mausoleum and neglected by my father. The principal and the others went to contact some of them, but they returned without success. That's why I thought of this method. Mo Yulai said. Now that those people knew that he had a good relationship with Sima Yue and the emperor had noticed him, his situation would be much better in the future. What did you say to the emperor? Sima Yue asked. Actually, it wasn't me who said it. I only asked them to talk about what happened at the entrance of the academy that day in front of my father. Mo Yulai said, after that, my father called 4th brother over to ask about it. So, Sima Yue's matter was actually told by Mo Yushi. Master, 6th brother is in danger in the imperial palace. Can we help him? Mo Yuxing said. If I didn't help him, he probably wouldn't be in one piece right now. Sima Yue snorted. She had always used others since she was young. This was the first time she was used by someone else. I knew that master was the best. Mo Yuxing said with a smile. Seeing his smile, the bit of unhappiness in Sima Yue's heart dissipated. Does the emperor not have long to live? Sima Yue asked Mo Yuxing. Right, my father's body is getting weaker by the day. He shouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. That's why eldest brother and fourth brother are fighting so fiercely. Mo said. Do you want to save him? Save? I don't have the ability to save him. Mo muttered. Saving him might not be a good thing for the commoners. Chapter 2297. Sima Yue let the two brothers meet to fulfill Mo Yuxing's wish to see Mo Yulai. Seeing the two brothers chatting so enthusiastically, she couldn't help but think about what would happen if Mo Yuxing went to the divine realm and couldn't see each other. When it was about time, she waved her hand at Mo Yuxing and said, "We should go back." Mo Yuxing was very happy to be able to chat with Mo Yulai for so long. He obediently came to Sima Yue's side and asked, "Master, can I come out and find sixth brother in the future?" "You can, but you can't come out alone. You have to come with me." Sima Yue also wanted him to come out and see more and increase his knowledge, so she readily agreed. "Really? Master, you're too good." Mo Yuxing was very happy. "Alright, their banquet is over. We should go back." Sima Yue glanced at the side of the imperial garden and reached out to grab Mo Yuxing. The two people's figures slowly disappeared from their original spot. The emperor and the others came over just in time to see them leave. This made the emperor feel very regretful. If he came a minute earlier, wouldn't he be able to talk to her? "Yulai, what did you talk to her about?" The emperor asked. "Do you know her background?" This son asked, but she didn't say anything. Mo Yuxing said. "Then what did she say after you came out for so long?" The emperor asked. "She didn't talk much. She only said a lot about my cultivation." Mo Yuxing said. "She gave you pointers on your cultivation?" The princes looked at him with resentment. Such a good opportunity was actually given to this useless prince who had no power or influence. The emperor sized him up and nodded. "She's very powerful. To be able to get her pointers is a once-in-100 years opportunity." The son thinks so too. After Master Yue's pointers, the differences from before are now clear. The son feels that I've benefited a lot. Mo Yuxing replied. "Let's take a walk in the imperial garden. Tell me how she gave you pointers." The emperor said to the others, "You're all tired today. Go back and rest." This meant that Mo Yuxing was going to accompany him. The princes glared at Mo Yulai and left unwillingly. After leaving the imperial palace, the first prince and the fourth prince gathered together to discuss today's matter. Both sides came to the same conclusion. Mo was too dangerous and must be eliminated. Although the sixth prince doesn't have anyone by his side, he has a good relationship with the seventh prince since they were young. Now that the seventh prince had acknowledged that woman as his master, wouldn't that woman stand on his side? Today's matter is the best proof. She doesn't even put the emperor in her eyes, but let the sixth prince accompany them to tour the imperial palace. She gave him pointers. Isn't it all because of the seventh prince's face? That's right. If he manages to win Yue over, wouldn't he have the strongest support? At that time, not only will he have her help, I'm afraid that even the Clear Wind Academy behind her will follow him. Not only that, but there are also a few neutral forces. They are now neutral because they don't know who will win in this competition. If they knew about Teacher Yoyue's existence, I'm afraid they would immediately make a decision. What kind of decision would that be? There was no need for them to say more. Everyone was well aware of it. This was a big threat to them. If they wanted to get rid of this threat, there was only one way, and that was to take drastic measures to completely resolve this matter before it happened. But who did this person want to go? Both sides wanted the other side to make a move, but if the other side also thought the same, then no one would make a move. In the end, both sides sent people to strangle the trouble in the cradle. When Mo came out of the imperial palace, it was already very late. The emperor pulled him aside and said a lot. He knew that this was a good sign, but he also knew that this was a very dangerous matter. From the imperial palace to his mansion, there was a road to the ghost realm. "Master, should we take another road back?" His guard followed him out of the imperial palace and asked, "Other road? Do we want to make a bet that there are people waiting for us on every road from here to the mansion?" Mo said with a smile. "Then wouldn't it be dangerous wherever we go?" "Even if it's dangerous, we still have to go. From the moment we took that step, there was no turning back. Let's go, don't let them wait too long." Mo said and walked forward. Just as he said, there were two groups of people waiting for him on every road from the imperial palace to his mansion. No matter which road he took, he would encounter an ambush. When those people saw him, they didn't say much nonsense and directly came to kill him. Originally, they thought that he was just a baby who hadn't grown up, wasn't strong, and didn't have any capable people by his side, so he should be easy to deal with. They didn't expect that some people would come out of nowhere and kill all the people who came to assassinate him. I didn't expect you to have people by your side. An old man appeared on the roof next to him, looking at Mou with eyes full of killing intent. They had actually misjudged Mou. Mou had secretly developed a force that wasn't weak. If they waited for him to rope in the Clear Wind Academy, the first prince and the fourth prince wouldn't have any power to resist. What he didn't know was that these people were sent by the Qingfeng Academy to protect him. When they asked me to come, I thought they were making a big fuss over nothing. Only now do I feel that this decision was wise. If I don't kill you today, you will definitely be a disaster when you grow up tomorrow. The old man condensed his spirit power and turned it into a spirit skill to attack below. The people following Mou were no match for this old man and were all beaten down in a few moves. Mou looked at the people around him, but there was no panic on his face. He was just a little surprised. He didn't know who sent such a strong person to kill him. Was it the first prince or the fourth prince? The old man finished off those people and landed in the middle of the street, blocking in front of Mou. He smiled evilly and said, "I have already set up a barrier here. Everything that happens here won't be known to anyone, and no one will come to save you." After saying that, he used a spirit skill to attack Mou. Mou was imprisoned by his pressure and couldn't move. He could only watch as the spirit skill got closer and closer to him. Bang! The old man's spirit skill was reflected the moment it was about to touch him. If it wasn't for his quick reaction, he would have been injured by his own spirit skill. "Who is it?" he shouted. Mou's body emitted a soft white light, and a faint shadow was faintly discernible in the white light. Chapter 2298. Sima Yue looked at the old man and said, "You do have some strength. No wonder you were able to activate the soul imprint I left behind." "Who are you?" The old man looked at Sima Yue. He did not expect her to be so strong despite her young age. "Shouldn't you have guessed who I am? If it wasn't for me, I'm afraid you wouldn't have been invited out today," Sima Yue said. "You're that woman called Yue." The old man was shocked. Of course he had heard of Sima Yue. Otherwise, why would the first prince invite him out? It was to ensure that nothing would go wrong. However, they had still underestimated her strength. Even his barrier couldn't stop her, but she could still appear silently. If her soul imprint was so strong, then how strong was she herself? When he thought of this, he did not have the confidence to face Sima Yue and wanted to retreat. Just as his body floated backwards, he found himself trapped. Barrier? He did not feel the existence of the barrier at all. "Since you're here, then stay. Mier, end this quickly." Sima Yue's voice was slightly lazy, but this laziness took the life of a strong cultivator. Mier killed the person, but she still obtained the aura she wanted from his consciousness after his death. "The person who sent him is the first prince." She waved her hand and burned the corpse on the ground. "I've already guessed it. Fourth brother has already seen how strong you are and knows that normal spirit paragons are not your match. Therefore he would not casually send such a strong cultivator." After experiencing life and death, Mou was still afraid. His palms were sweaty and his inner clothes were drenched in cold sweat. Although he did not lose his aura, he was not as fearless as he appeared. Sima Yue looked at him, forcing himself to be stubborn, and sighed, saying, "Let's go, I'll send you back." "Thank you." Mou secretly sighed in relief. The commotion just now should have attracted the attention of the other assassins. Most of the people sent by the academy to protect him were already dead. If she could send him back, then his journey would be safe. After tonight, he would be able to break through the current situation and his future path would be much easier. Sima Yue sent him home and said, "1 year." "What?" Mou did not know what she meant and subconsciously turned his head to look at her. "1 year. I'll stay here. After 1 year, I'll bring Yuxing outside to train." Sima Yue disappeared after she finished speaking. Mou was stunned before he understood what she meant. She would stay here for a year, which meant she would protect him in this 1 year period. 1 year? That's Yu to Yue. From tomorrow onwards, everything would be different. Sima Yue returned to her small courtyard. Mou did not know that she had gone out and did not know that his beloved sixth brother had just gone through a dangerous situation. He was still cultivating because his master said that he would bring him to see his sixth brother after he advanced. And after he advanced and could cultivate flames, he would tell his master that he wanted to try refining pills. In the past he could only watch others refine pills. Now that he could cultivate, he would definitely be able to refine pills. A year passed in the blink of an eye. Sima Yue felt that this year was especially long. Perhaps it was because she was worried about the white tiger that she could not truly relax and enjoy life. Bang! The sound of an explosion came from the alchemy room. Not long later, Mo Yulai walked out with a dejected expression. He had failed again. Mo Yulai looked at Sima Yue and felt that he did not have the face to see his master anymore. He had clearly followed his master's instructions to refine the pills. He had also studied every step thoroughly. Why did the furnace explode? Master! He softly called out. Sima Yue looked at Mo Yulai. She did not know if it was because he had started cultivating, but his wisdom had also grown. Now it seemed that he already had the wisdom of a 10-year-old. Sima Yue initially tried to find the reason why his furnace exploded. Later on, she realized that the reason was not because of the process of refining pills, but because of the matter itself. In other words, no matter how familiar he was with refining pills and how perfect the process was, he would not succeed. The heavenly Tao would not allow him to succeed. Don't be discouraged. Perhaps it's because you don't have enough flames now. The flames that you cultivate are always a little lacking compared to the flames of your contracted beasts or the deviant flames that you absorb into your body. Sima Yue consoled him. Really? When have I ever lied to you? Sima Yue asked him. I just thought about it. I will find you a fire attribute contracted beast. It's best if it has its own spiritual fire. This way when you refine pills you can try it out and see if it's because of this. Then let's hurry and contract it. Mo Yulai's disappointment was swept away. His fighting spirit was high again. As always, he was easy to coax. We have to leave for a long time, so let's go and greet the people we know. Sima Yue said. All right, let's go. Mo Yulai pulled Sima Yue and left the small courtyard. Sima Yue took a look at the place where she had lived for more than a year. After leaving today, she probably would not return. She and Mo Yulai went to find the dean and told him that she was leaving. Dean Hao was silent for a while. I knew that this day would come, but I didn't expect it to be so fast. Thank you for taking care of me during this period of time. Sima Yue said. We should be the ones saying this to you. If it wasn't for you, our academy might not have existed a year ago. Dean Hao waved his hand. Ever since that day of the academy's meeting, their situation with Mo Yulai had improved a lot. It allowed them to open up a new path. Later on, when those powers supported Mo, they were moved by his personality and sincerely supported him, allowing him to quickly rise up and become a prince who was even more important than the first prince and fourth prince. Everything was a matter of course. All of this was because of her. Will you come back after leaving? Dongli asked. Sima Yue shook her head. I probably won't come back. Chapter 2299. When Mo Yulai saw that Sima Yue had brought Mo Yuxing along, he guessed what was going on. Sixth brother, I'm going to travel with master. In this year the two brothers had changed a lot. The only thing that didn't change was the relationship between them. And take care of yourself when you go out. Listen to your master and don't run around or do anything dangerous, understand? Mo Yulai warned. I know, sixth brother. Wait here for me to come back. Mo Yuxing nodded seriously. And I'll wait here for you. Mo Yulai patted his shoulder and smiled at him. Obviously he didn't know what his departure meant. He thought that he was simply going to contract a spirit beast, but he didn't know that he was going to embark on a difficult journey. He looked at Sima Yue and said, I'll leave everything to you. I will. Sima Yue nodded. If she didn't die, Mo Yuxing would definitely be alive. If she died, Mo Yuxing's fate wouldn't be good either. After they left Mo Yulai's place, they didn't immediately leave. Instead, they went to Fushi's place. They didn't expect to be stared at with jealousy as soon as they entered. More accurately speaking, that gaze was staring at the hand that Mo Yuxing was using to pull Sima Yue's sleeve. Sima Yue looked at Wu Lingyu in surprise and said, When did you come back? Just now. Wu Lingyu pulled Sima Yue over and said, How old are you? You're still letting him hold you. Mo Yuxing was frightened by Wu Lingyu's gaze and hid behind Sima Yue. He's timid, don't scare him. Sima Yue said. Then she said to Mo Yuxing, This is my husband. You call him Grandmaster? Fushi and the others laughed from behind, especially when they saw Wu Lingyu's face that couldn't be any darker. Everyone laughed even more happily. Mo Yuxing was puzzled for a few seconds, but he still came out from behind Sima Yue and bowed respectfully towards him, shouting, "Grandmaster." Ah! Wu Lingyu's face was extremely dark. Wah wah wah, a baby's cry startled everyone. Only then did they remember that Bai Yuyan was already 3 months old. When she and Bai Xiaofei quickly went to coax the child, Sima Yue looked at Bai Yuyan. She knew what Bai Xiaofei and when she were thinking. If they could succeed, then it would be fine. If they failed in the end, the 4 great ferocious beasts would definitely not let them go. At the very least, they would have a crystallization of love. She thought of Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao. After leaving for more than a year, she wondered how the 2 little guys were doing. Very quickly, the 2 of them managed to coax Bai Yuyan. Sima Yue said, "Let's get ready to go. Black Tortoise, can you give us a direction?" Azure Dragon of the East, White Tiger of the West, Vermilion Bird of the South, Black Tortoise of the North. If we want to find White Tiger, we have to go to the west. Black Tortoise said. Sima Yue was speechless. Azure Dragon of the East, White Tiger of the West, Vermilion Bird of the South, Black Tortoise of the North. Was this sentence supposed to be used at this time? She felt that Black Tortoise was a little unreliable. Instead, she looked at Fushi. Fushi nodded towards him and said, "We did a divination for White Tiger. Maybe it's because we're close, unlike before when there was nothing. We received some predictions that White Tiger is in the west." The west? Then the range is too big. From what I know, there are many mountain ranges in the west. If we go one by one, how long will it take? Sima Yue said. There's no other way. There's only this hint. If we can divine more, the 4 great ferocious beasts can too. Fushi said. Then we can only go one by one. Sima Yue sighed. Since Yuxing is fated with him, maybe he can give us some help when the time comes. Mo Yuxing listened to their discussion. He had no idea what they were talking about. He only knew that after they finished speaking, everyone looked at him with an expectant look. This made him a little scared. Then you guys pack up. We'll go to the west. Sima Yue said and went to his room with Wu Lingyu to talk. Although Mo Yuxing had become more familiar with everyone in this year, he was still a little scared. Luckily, Bai Yuyan attracted his attention, so he wasn't as scared as he was while waiting. The next morning, Sima Yue started messing around in the courtyard. Mo Yuxing saw her looking here and there. He didn't know what she was doing. He stayed in the courtyard for as long as she was messing around. "Master, what are you doing? Do you need Yuxing's help?" Mo Yuxing asked. "No need, you can just stay there." Sima Yue was afraid that he would come over and ruin the array she had just drawn, so she stopped him. Mo Yuxing, who had just stood up, squatted back down. After Sima Yue finished setting up the array, everyone appeared in the courtyard one after another. Sima Yue activated the array and disappeared from the courtyard with everyone. Mo Yuxing came to the courtyard and saw the broken array stones. He stared at the array stones for a long time until Dean Hao came to find him. "They've already left." Dean Hao sighed. "Yes, they've already left." Mo Yuxing said, "I don't know what kind of danger awaits us. I hope Yuxing can come back safely." "You will come back." Dean Hao looked at the array stones. He has Teacher Yue by his side. There won't be any problems. I believe in her. He believed in her. They all believed in her. However, even she wasn't 100% confident in this matter. When Sima Yue and the rest came out of the array, they happened to be in a mountain range. They didn't know where this mountain was located. Little Roar went to trick a spirit beast over and asked about the situation here clearly. This place was called Fenglai Mountain. It was the mountain range closest to Clear Wind Academy and was also the largest mountain range. If the White Tiger was in the west, the possibility of it being in this mountain range was higher. However, they stayed here for half a year and searched the entire mountain range, but they didn't find any news about the White Tiger. Not to mention the White Tiger, they didn't even find a normal tiger. Thus, after half a year, they left Fenglai Mountain and continued to head west to the next mountain range. The next mountain range was also larger, and the area here was no longer under the Mo Empire's control. Based on their previous experience, they directly asked if there were any tiger-type spirit beasts. After confirming that there were, they began to search the mountain range. 5 months later, they left in disappointment again. The next 2 mountain ranges were also fruitless. The group of people was about to be discouraged. Chapter 2300. Mo Yuxing saw that everyone was looking at him, so he shivered and said softly, "Yuxing doesn't know." "Yuxing, don't be afraid. Just tell us if it was you, where would you go next? "Okay, just tell us what you think." Sima Yue comforted. Mo Yuxing looked around and casually pointed in a direction. Everyone's mouth twitched. "That's the direction we came from." "I didn't know, sorry." Mo Yuxing said apologetically. "Then are we still going back?" Wen Shi hugged Bai Yuyan and asked. Yes. Bai Yuyan was already 2 years old and was learning how to speak. Everyone looked at Sima Yue. Sima Yue thought about it and looked at Wu Lingyu. Seeing that he didn't object, she said, "Since Yuxing pointed in that direction, then let's go back. I remember when we came from the mountain range in front, we passed by a small mountain range. At that time that mountain range was too small, so we didn't go down." Wu Lingyu said. The others also remembered that there was such a mountain range. At that time they didn't go down because that mountain range was too small. Although it was called a mountain range, it was actually just a few mountains. The total area was only a few tens of kilometers. They all felt that the white tiger wouldn't be in such a small place, so they didn't go down. "Since we're going back, then even if it's such a small place, we should still take a look," Bai Xiaofei said. "And since we don't have a direction, why don't we take a look?" Fu Shi said. Thus, the group flew back in the direction they came from. In order not to miss out on the small mountain range in the middle, they used flying beasts to rest instead of using teleportation arrays. As long as there was a mountain, even if it was just a mountain, they would go down to take a look. Their actions were without a plan, and because they had no direction they could only do this. Even so, they still didn't find anything. "If I find this white tiger, I will definitely skin him and make a tiger fur coat." Black Tortoise snorted. "Old Grandpa, don't be angry. There are so many of us, we will definitely find him," Mo Yuxing said. Everyone was anxious. Only he didn't know what was going on, but he still comforted Black Tortoise optimistically. "We're running out of time." Black Tortoise sighed. "Black Tortoise, did you feel anything?" Crimson Flame asked him. Black Tortoise nodded and said in a heavy tone, "I feel that something very dangerous will happen. I think that when we receive the white tiger's information, they should have already guessed it. 2 years is enough for them to find us." "Those beasts are coming again?" When she subconsciously hugged Bai Yuyan tightly. She still had lingering fears about the strength of those people on the small island the last time. Especially now that she had a child with Bai Xiaofei. "When something happens, take the child and leave first," Bai Xiaofei said. "No, I want to follow you." When she said, "If anyone passes by later, leave our child there. We'll come back to pick her up after the matter is settled." "That's not safe either," Fu Shi said. "If they're affected, they might not be able to protect the children. Yue, let them go to the Spirit Pagoda." "But I can." "But if something happens to me, they won't be able to come out from there," Sima Yue said. "Aren't there people from Blood Fiend City in there? They can live in there for so long. If Yuyan can grow up safely there, there's nothing bad about it," Bai Xiaofei said. "All right then," Sima Yue nodded. "If she died, something would happen to the Spirit Pagoda, but it wouldn't be broken. Maybe they would meet other owners in the future and they would be able to come out. Didn't it have many owners in the past? Then again, things might not develop to that stage." Mo Yuxing didn't know what happened, but he could feel that everyone was different from before. Even his master was the same. "In front of us is the small mountain range that we passed by before." Fu Shi looked at the small mountain range. This was the closest mountain range to the big mountain range from before. If there was still no news of the white tiger, then they could only go back to the mountain range from before. This feeling of searching like a headless fly was really not good. Just as they got close to the mountain range, many people walked out of the space. Hundreds and thousands of people surrounded them. This formation was much bigger than the one on Black Tortoise's island. "Seems like they put in a lot of effort." Fu Shi mocked. "There are so many people. Even if we want to kill them, it would take a lot of effort." Bai Xiaofei said, "Yue will have to trouble you." Sima Yue nodded and kept Wen Shi and Bai Yuyan into the Spirit Pagoda. This was what Bai Xiaofei requested before. He didn't want Wen Shi to follow her. After all, her strength was too low compared to these people. Sima Yue wanted to keep Mo Yuxing into the Spirit Pagoda, but he grabbed her sleeve and said fearfully, "Master, someone is calling me over." Everyone's face lit up. When Sima Yue formed a contract with Crimson Flame, she followed his call to the cave. Now they didn't hear anything, but he did. Wasn't this the white tiger calling him? "Really? Did you hear where the sound came from?" Black Tortoise asked. "It seems to be in the mountain in front," Mo Yuxing said with uncertainty. "Yu, bring him to the small mountain in front. Leave this place to us." Crimson Flame said. "Okay. I'll leave some ancient war souls for you." Sima Yue waved her hand and thousands of ancient war souls protected them in the middle. She then pulled Mo Yuxing's hand and the two of them disappeared from the sky. Those people also noticed that Sima Yue and Mo Yuxing disappeared. Their main target this time was the White Tiger contractor. Seeing that he disappeared, the leader said, "Chase after those two. Since you're here, then stay. Why are you leaving?" Fushi said. He transformed into the Azure Dragon and took the lead to attack. No matter what, they had to delay these people and let Sima Yue and Mo Yuxing find the White Tiger and form a contract with it. Sima Yue brought Mo Yuxing out of the space. At this moment she didn't care whether Mo Yuxing understood or not. She looked at him and said, "Yuxing, find the divine beast that summoned you and form a contract with it. Do you understand?" "Master, will the White Tiger that I contracted be able to help you?" Mo Yuxing asked. Chapter 2301. Mo Yuxing nodded his head and pointed to a mountain. Sima Yue did not expect that after searching so many places and climbing so many mountains, the White Tiger would actually be in such an unremarkable mountain. "Let's go over." She pulled Mo Yuxing and teleported to the mountain that he pointed to. It was ordinary and did not even have a bit of spiritual energy. If it was not for Mo Yuxing saying that the White Tiger was here, they would have thought that it was a place for mortals to cultivate. Sensing the fluctuations in the air, she let go of Mo Yuxing's hand and said, "Yuxing, the enemy is here. I have to stay here and cannot go down with you. Follow the White Tiger's voice and find it. After you find it, contract it. Little Black, Little Roar, you two go with him." Little Black was strong, and although Little Roar was usually unreliable, he knew a lot. With the two of them accompanying him, she would be more at ease. An attack flew over from the sky and Sima Yue condensed a shield to block it. Then she let Little Roar grow bigger and threw Mo Yuxing up. A few spiritual energies flew over and Sima Yue shouted for them to leave quickly. Little Roar brought Mo Yuxing and ran. Sima Yue saw that they had left and turned around to attack the sky. Little Roar's speed was very fast. Mo Yuxing, who was on his back, almost fell off. Fortunately, Little Black, who was attached to his body, protected him and prevented him from falling off. "Thank you," Mo Yuxing said gratefully. "Where is the White Tiger?" Little Black asked indifferently. "To the left," Mo Yuxing said. Little Roar ran to the left and stopped not long after. In front of them was a cliff. "Why do these fellows like to stay under the cliff?" Little Roar muttered. "Go down," Mo Yuxing said. "Go down your ass. The White Tiger must have set something up here so that we can't fly," Little Roar said. Little Roar turned around and looked. Sima Yue had pulled back most of the people, but there were still people chasing after them. Seeing that they were about to catch up, it was too late for them to turn around now. "Jump," Little Black said. "It's so high, even if you don't fall half to death, you'll still be crippled," Little Roar roared. Little Black came out from Mo Yuxing's body and appeared behind them. Then it kicked Little Roar's butt. "CKU big black dog, just you wait." Little Roar's unwilling voice came from below, slowly becoming softer. Little Black turned around to look at the people who were chasing after them. Its body turned into a black fog and quickly flew towards them, enveloping them all in the black fog. By the time he left, all that was left of those people were a pile of bones. After dealing with the first batch of people, the black fog slowly slid down the cliff. Little Roar brought Mo down. Since he couldn't fly, he could only watch helplessly as he fell to the ground. When Mo Yuxing fell, he fell off his back. If he fell to the ground like this, he would definitely turn into a pile of meat paste. If he died, how was he going to contract the White Tiger? He swung his legs in the air and for the first time he felt that his short legs were in the way. He tried his best to get closer to Mo Yuxing. Seeing that he was about to fall to the ground, Mo Yuxing hugged him tightly and turned his back down, preparing to be his meat cushion. The pain that he expected did not come. The moment before he fell, he felt some kind of force dragging him up. When he landed again, it did not have the same force as before. Nothing happened? He let go of Mo Yuxing and climbed up from the ground. He waved his claws and shook his butt. There was really no injury at all. Little Black followed the cliff and appeared at the bottom. Seeing Little Roar like this, he was extremely disgusted. He looked at Mo Yuxing and said, "There are more and more people coming from outside. You can't hold on any longer. She will definitely use lightning tribulation later. You should hurry up and contract it, then leave this place." "Where is the White Tiger?" Little Roar asked Mo Yuxing. Mo Yuxing pointed at the cave behind him. Let's go in. Come up quickly. Mo Yuxing knew that time was tight. He climbed onto Little Roar's back and prepared to enter the cave. However, he found that they were blocked by a force. We can't go in. Little Roar extended his claws and poked at the barrier in front of him. Little Black tried, but he was also blocked outside. Thus he said to Mo Yuxing, "You try." Mo Yuxing slid down from Little Roar's back and arrived in front of the cave. He did not dare to go in. "You're a man. What are you afraid of? Go." Little Roar's claws slapped his back. He subconsciously staggered forward and then went in just like that. Little Black and Little Roar were not surprised. They said to him, "Since only you can go in, then you can only go in by yourself. Go, it's waiting for you inside." Mo Yuxing was still a little scared. "Little guy, what are you still standing there for? Go quickly. You can't hold on any longer. If you're late, how are you going to help her? Not only will you not be able to help her, you won't even be able to see her one last time before she dies." Little Roar roared. When Mo Yuxing heard that Sima Yue was going to die, his body trembled. He did not care about how scary the cave was as he turned around and ran inside. "This guy really won't stop." Little Roar shouted. "You stay here and guard. I'll go help you." Little Black said. "Why do you want me to stay here and guard? I want to go too." Little Roar protested. "Can you climb up?" Little Black gave him a look. It was a look of pure, undisguised contempt. "You." Little Roar went up to bite him. He had already turned into a black fog and climbed up the cliff. "You big black dog, just you wait. I'll deal with you later." That kick just now and the contempt now, he wanted to get back at him. Little Black returned to the cliff and saw that Sima Yue had already called out all the beasts and the remaining ancient war souls. However, the other party had also sent reinforcements. At a glance, it was a black mass. It seemed that other than the 4 great fierce beasts, most of the people from the 4 palaces had come. That's good too. I'll just cut off the 4 great fierce beasts' wings first. There are too many of them. We can't hold on any longer. Little Seven shouted. Sima Yue wiped the blood from the corner of her lips. She looked at those people and laughed coldly. "Just nice that I haven't advanced to monarch yet. I'll let you all advance with me. All of you protect me." All the beasts knew that she was planning to advance at this moment. Hence, they all came to her side and protected her in the center, giving her time and space to advance. Sima Yue released all the energy that she had suppressed previously. As she had already prepared for a long time, everything went smoothly. Not long later, she was enveloped by the light of her advancement. "She has advanced to monarch." Those people saw the light of her advancement and shouted. "Don't bother about her. The white tiger hasn't contracted yet. Go and find the white tiger's contractor first." "Yes, Palace Master." "Palace Master?" Sima Yue looked at the symbol of Tao Tai Palace on his body and laughed. "Just nice. You all don't have to go. Stay here and accompany me." You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.